Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knick family. Welcome to the Just Knickin' It Weekly Show. I'm your host, Stephanie, a.k.a. Queen, joined by Jerrell, Die Hard Giants Podcast Live. Or is it Die Hard Giants Live Podcast? Y'all know my condition.
Close enough.
Ajay, if y'all comments don't come up today, it's because of Ajay. He's working the comments. And Geoff Klafter, the author of the daily sports blog, Happily Ever Klafter. How's everybody?
Good, man. Good to be here.
Good. Yeah. Always
We got a long
for the sun after last night's game. I'll tell you what.
It's always an adventure with these Knicks. Always an adventure.
And it don't matter who we playing.
Nope.
Doesn't matter who we playing. We could have been playing Murray State last night. And we almost lost, like again. But it is what it is. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, but at least they were able to pull it out. We're taking calls today. I'm just checking just to make sure I'm connected. All right. I know I should have did this before I came on, but I'm doing it now.
It's all good.
It's all good. All right. Do y'all want to spend any time on last night's game, or we just gonna let's just get into the mid-season review?
It's up to everybody. We can do a little something real quick. I was a little disappointed in the game just by the way we played. It seemed like we always played our competition, and that's been an ongoing problem for the New York Knickerbockers, seemed like my entire life. So I don't know. I didn't like last night's game, especially the fourth quarter. But, like I said, every week is something that we need to grow from. But, yeah, I did not like last night's game at all, especially the fourth quarter. It was terrible. Well, the second half, but the fourth quarter with Jalen Brunson just dribbling the air out the ball, it did not look good for us last night.
And the turnovers, just the critical turnovers. Ajay, anything you want to add?
No.
Yeah. All right, Geoff.
Well, I don't care how. I don't believe in moral victories, so I don't care about ugly wins. And to beat Philly for the fourth time in a row in their own building and have our crowd chanting MVP for Jalen Brunson as he's making free throws in overtime. As someone who used to live in the Allentown area, that's tasty pudding. And Jerrell, you got to wake up this morning. Nobody said nothing to you this morning.
That is true. They don't even look at me when I got my Knicks hat on in the cafeteria. They don't even look at me no more. They just give me my bacon and leave.
Yeah, things have definitely turned around, with the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to David L. Byer, who made it. He usually doesn't get the notifications, but he got it this time. Welcome. Kareem Grant, Double D was in the building early. Wonder Woman, appreciate you. Did I miss any?
A-Train checked in early.
A-Train
in the house early today.
A-Train, Space Ghost just checked in.
Space Ghost, appreciate it. It's going to be a good show. So we're going to do the midseason review. We're going to do the team overall. Then we're going to do the starters and each individual starter. The bench we'll do as a whole. We'll do Tibbs and the coaching staff as a whole, obviously. And then the front office. And we're going to do our best to do all of this in 2 hours. We're going to do our best to do it in 2 hours. All right. So as far as the team overall, if you can remember your preseason expectations, in terms of where the team is right now, have they met your expectation, exceeded it, or not met it at all? Jerrell, we'll start with you.
I'm kind of there right on the fence when it comes to being, disappointing in some things and not disappointing in others. I think the win total I'm fine with. It's just the way that we're losing, especially lately. I thought the defense will be a tad bit better than this. I didn't think we was going to be like top 5 out of the gate or anything, but I thought it would be better, especially with the 2 wings that we have now. But yeah, it's more disappointed in like individual play to me more than the team as a whole. But yeah, I'm still optimistic about the season, and I think we're going to get better. But for the most part, I'm pretty even keel when it comes to disappointment, but I am definitely disappointment in certain things.
Okay. All right. Ajay?
Wow. So every year and at this point in the season, there's always a few goods and a few bad. But overall, and we'll talk about that later on as we discuss more stuff with the team. Um, well, you mentioned our preseason predictions. I don't remember exactly what it said, but I think I had them winning maybe 3 games better than they did last season and stuff like that. And they're on pace to do that. So it's right there. So it hasn't changed. They're on pace to do that. I don't know. And right now you really can't tell whether they are gonna, win at the end of the season, win more games than last season, or you still can't tell because this team, they get on a roll and then they drop a couple of stinkers. So you really can't tell. Like the lack of consistency, you really can't tell what they're gonna do. So I'm not like overtly excited or happy, and I'm not disappointed either. So I'm like right there in the middle. It's not. I can't. Basically I can't gauge it yet based on what I'm seeing.
Okay.
Pretty much. So
Okay. Jeff?
Well, in terms of overall record, I think we're right where we need to be. I think what all of us are kind of feeling in Knicks Nation is the context of our record and how the starters have to pretty much play all the minutes and we haven't got, and we'll get into more of this later. The bench hasn't been fantastic. It's been it's been injury riddled, and the starters kind of carry this team, and we have I usually say this about my record Scarlet Knights, but the Knicks are adopting it too for some strange reason. There are 3 ways to do things. There's the easy way, there's the hard way, and then there's the Knicks way. And it's like, it's just like last night's game. It looks like they got it in their pocket. Then the third quarter of doom happens, and then you're like, oh, we're in for a dogfight. They spread it out again, and you're like, you take a breath. Okay, we can relax. Then they throw that lead away and you're going to overtime and you're like, oh goodness, here we go. And then, they put down the clamps in overtime. In the first 3 minutes of overtime, they looked like world beaters. But part of me thinks I'm glad that game wasn't 2 minutes longer, or we'd have been going to a second overtime, because they creeped back in at the end and brought it back to 6. And so there's almost this Jekyll and Hyde personality that's going on with the team. And, there's certainly a team, a unit that hasn't figured it out, and they don't have the same continuity that we saw even through all the injuries, like post January, like February onward of last season. They just seem to, after that losing streak, they just seem to, they were 4-8 in February, but after that, they just seemed to, all the ducks got in a row, even with the injuries, and they were right there. And I think from a fan's perspective, we want them to have that again right there with the increased talent level, and just be able to pick up like we left off, like you're reading a novel or something, and you close that chapter. Okay, everything that happened before is still in place, and we can just continue on to the next adventure. But I don't know that it's always, growth isn't always linear and all that stuff. So I think we're all kind of feeling that a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. I would say record-wise, they've exceeded my expectations. I didn't think, they would be on the pace to win 54 games. I had them 47 to 50, to 52. We have the hardest part of the schedule coming up, so it may be difficult to keep pace, but I would say that they've kind of met my expectations compared to what I was thinking. Preseason, I knew it would be a work in progress. I thought I would have a better sense of who they were at game 20. And I kind of have a better sense, obviously, now at game 42 going into 43. I just think we have work to do. You know, I just think we have work to do as a team, and all teams do. But I thought the defense would be, from when we had this conversation at 20 games, I thought the defense would be a little further along after another 20 games. And that hasn't been the case. We'll talk more, more about the bench, but I thought the bench would be better. Like in preseason, I thought the bench would be better. And, perhaps it was the injury slowing the bench down. Precious was out. Deuce has been out. Shamet with the shoulder. I just thought the bench would be a little better than it's been now. And maybe that's yet to, maybe that's yet to come. But overall, I'm okay. But I just see where we need to improve going forward. Anything else overall before we get into individual players?
Yeah, not for me.
All right. Well, let's start with Towns, man. Let's start with Karl Anthony Towns, the new addition to the team right before a training camp. And I'm keeping it simple. It's the same question for every player. How would you assess him up to this point, and what would you like to see from him, if anything else, going forward? Geoff, we'll start with you, then Jerrell, then Ajay.
He's been phenomenal. I always liked Karl Anthony Towns, but I love Karl Anthony Towns on the Knicks. I mean, his rebounding is fantastic. I did not expect him to come here and be a top 3 rebounder in the NBA. I love the versatility of his game. I love that he can get the ball at the top of the key, and he's a threat to splash it in your eye at 45%, and then he can take you off the bounce and go straight to the cup and get an and one, and you don't know if he's going to hit you with the right or with the left. And then he's got that sneaky good post game where he could, he's not going to overpower you like our Julius Randle does, but he can get to his spots, and he can get to those little hook shots and flip shots and all those little finesse shots in the paint that we're used to seeing from Jalen Brunson, except he does it at 7 feet. So that just makes him impossible to guard. Mm-hmm. He's what we expected on defense. The fouling is a little bit infuriating sometimes, especially the offensive fouls that we get. But I wanted him when that draft, when we fell to 4th and got Porzingis, Towns was the guy I wanted. And 9 years later, he's everything I dreamed that he could be, and it's sure been fun. He needs to get rid of that Eagles shirt though.
He did at halftime.
Yeah. And actually, I think he's been better. He's been better with the Knicks. I mean, one of the knocks on Karl Anthony Towns was that he had a higher ceiling, and we just didn't see it. And I think we're seeing that. We're seeing that with the Knicks. I remember saying, Randle and Karl Anthony Towns are about the same, only because Karl Anthony Towns is not playing at his ceiling, and Randle was. And I think now he's just taken off, and it's just not even close. In my opinion. Jerrell?
Cat has been awesome. Like, I agree with everything Geoff said. I'm just happy for Cat, for one thing. It seems like I'm thinking maybe that's the reason he's playing so well, because he's happy. I think this was his dream team to play for. He just didn't want to admit it at first, growing up and stuff. But, I know he wanted to stay in Minnesota, but now that he's here, I think he's happy and he's playing like it. Like, I never expected Cat to lead the league in rebounding while he's here. He got rid of the soft mantra that people was trying to get on him. People don't call him soft anymore. At least I haven't heard it lately. Mm-hmm. Because if you did hear it lately, it'd be kind of weird. That just means you just don't like him a certain way, or you don't like the way he plays. But yeah, Cat has been awesome, man. I'm just happy for him. I'm glad that he's here. I think he wants to be here. And, it might be 2 captains next year.
Is there anything you would like to see from him going forward, the next 42 games and into the playoffs?
You talk about just on the court wise. Staying out of foul trouble, like Geoff said. pretty much the only thing. Maybe shoot a little bit more threes. We was thinking coming into the season that he was going to shoot too many. Now I actually wish he shot more.
Right.
I'm not going to go as far as Ajay and say he should never drive, but he should definitely be shooting more threes just because he's so good at it. But yeah, that's pretty much it with me. Just work on his defense, even though I don't think he's going to just wake up and become like Mitchell Robinson on the defensive end. But yeah, just stay out of foul trouble, shoot more threes, and just play like you've been playing all season.
Yeah, I agree. I do wonder if some of guys scoring over him, he's not a great rim protector, I agree. But I do wonder if he's some of the lack of aggressiveness on some of the plays is because he doesn't want to get into foul trouble.
Right.
Because sometimes the guys I'm like, come on, he taking a step back.
Right. I actually can't wait to see how Cat plays when Mitch actually does get healthy and can actually, run the court with him. I want to see him with another big man on the court. Maybe it'll unlock him a little bit more on offense. Maybe.
On offense or defense?
Mm-hmm. On offense.
On offense.
Not on defense. I think, Mitch is Mitch, so he's already going to be light years better than Cat on defense to me. But on offense, I don't know, at least
Oh, you mean Cat will unlock Mitch?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what I meant.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
Because he's a good passer.
He is.
So I would like to see that dynamic with both of them, because I've seen him and Rudy have plays together, and if Rudy can do it, Mitch can do it. Even though he's not that good on offense, he's around on par with Rudy Gobert. So yeah, I would like to see that tandem. Maybe I think it would be pretty good for us.
Yeah. DX relish, man.
Hey, yo,
your fortitude.
I knew DX was going to be here today.
Yo, salute to him, bro.
Respect
Salute
that,
to
my
him.
brother.
Yeah.
Salute DX.
Y'all played us tough, man. Overtime with those people that you had playing against us. The Sixers played tough. They played us tough.
And
salute them.
And you got to appreciate that. So you know what that means when the Sixers, when they flip and the Sixers are beating us.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap with this.
He gonna let the chopper fly in the chat. He gonna let the guns go off in the chat when Philly beat us.
He's gonna call in the show and he's just gonna talk smack to us the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta respect it because we come in.
We gotta take it. We gotta take it.
No doubt.
I get it.
Ajay, just your thoughts on Karl Anthony Towns so far and what you would like to see from him going forward.
So Cat, and I'm gonna agree with Jerrell and Geoff. Cat has been absolutely amazing, right? When this trade happened, we all knew Cat was gonna be better than Julius Randle. Okay, some people didn't like the trade because we lost DiVincenzo, but Cat, we knew was gonna be better than Julius Randle, but it turned out that Cat is better than Cat, because he's playing so much. He's playing the best ball of his career right now. So he's better than Cat that's been playing in the league, So like you said, Queen, we're seeing that ceiling getting higher and higher right now because it's getting higher, So he's playing better ball, he's playing better offense, smarter basketball. He's trying hard on defense. He's not there yet on defense, but he's trying. So he's been absolutely amazing for this team. Nothing short of amazing. I mean, he's playing. Obviously, he's playing all-star basketball right now. He's definitely going to be on that all-star team. Like, I don't know why. I don't see why he wouldn't be, but he's one of the best centers in the league right now, and definitely probably the best center in the East right now.
Yeah.
So, and what would I like to see him, improve on is definitely those foul troubles, because they limit his playing time some games. Yeah. Okay, and obviously that, if you're not available, your best availability is your best. What is it saying?
Ability.
Your best ability is availability. Okay, yeah. And if you're not available because you're on the bench with foul trouble, you're no good to the team. So he's just gonna have to smarten up. With those fouls, and a lot of them are silly fouls, and there's usually a couple of them he picks up when he drives to the basket. So I'm gonna roll right into. I would really like to see him drive less, and like Jerrell, you're gonna get there by the end of the season. I want to see him shoot more threes. Sometimes he has the shot, he doesn't take it. It's like, take it, man.
Yeah.
You know, you're 45% from that. Shoot the ball. I want to see you shoot that ball. Every time they give you 2 inches of space, take the shot. Yeah, but I would like him to see reduce those fouls, take more 3-pointers, and post up a little more, because a lot of the teams we play, there's nobody who could guard you down low. Okay, so please park yourself down low and then just shoot, because he's got that little jump shot over there. It's almost automatic with him, you know. So I don't understand why we don't do that. Like, I don't get it, because the numbers he's putting up right now could look so much better if they play him smart, if they play him right. So yeah, he's been nothing short of amazing for us this season.
So what I'm hearing from you is you would like to see his shot distribution with a little more post, a little less drives, more threes.
More threes, more post, less drive. And also he has a little mid-range, and he doesn't have to be down low. He could be, you know, the outside of the painted area. Anywhere outside the painted area, you know, he's good. Like his little mid-range, he's got that going on. So move around, you know, don't, you know, keep the defense busy, you know. And you don't have to put the ball on the floor because of your height. A lot of the teams we play have no guys that could just shoot right over them until they stop you, until they figure out a way to stop you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I have anything to add to what you three said. Like you said, he's been amazing for us. He's playing at or close to his ceiling. He's having a career year for us. Rebounding, scoring on all 3 levels. Every game or two, he just does something. And I'm like, wow, this guy's really talented offensively. And I agree. I would like to see him in the post more. I don't think it's egregious, though. There's some games, you know, when it is, but I don't think it's egregious where he's, you know, staying outside, popping when, you know, he has a super small opponent on him. But there are definitely times when that is the case. I do agree about the foul trouble, particularly in the playoffs. You have to stay on the floor. We don't have, like, there's a drop off when we go to our bench, as it is with every team. But there's a drop off when we go to our bench, you know. And so you want your best players out on the floor, coming out for rest or regular rotation, not coming out because of fouls. So that's definitely something he has to clean up. And I'm not one. I hardly ever mention the officiating on the show. I just feel like that's just part of the game. But whatever he does on the offensive end, as far as fouls, gets called really quick. And he gets really, really hammered on the defensive end, and that whistle was super slow on the other side. And I mean, it's something he has to deal with, and he's dealing with it well. But you can really see just the amount of impact that he takes on the drive, and he might get 1 out of 3 fouls, called. He really could be living at the foul line, actually. Anything else about Towns before we get into OG?
I just want to say a little bit about and I didn't mention that when I went with I don't know how when he got traded here, people were talking about him being soft. And I think
before he came, remember when we were talking about, who was it, Coach, talking about possibly trading for him? People were saying they didn't want him because he was soft.
I don't, and I remember clearly neither one of us on this panel felt he was soft. So I don't know how he got that label. And I even mentioned, like, I remember seeing him going at Jerrell and Embiid fighting, choking each other, and I'm not saying that's tough, but I'm saying this is a guy, when you put him up against big body men, he goes up against those guys. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand how he got that, but he's playing more defense now than I've seen him play in his career. Listen, we didn't follow Karl Anthony Towns' career when he was playing in Minnesota. We didn't watch every game, but he was not known to be this defensive minded, but I think he's or this much of a rebounder, but he's putting a lot of effort into this. So eventually he's going to become a better defender and an even greater rebounder for this team. Okay. If if need be, because it depends on who you have. If you have Mitch down there, there's not enough rebounds for him to become better. You know what I'm saying? But I do expect his defense to improve. You could see that he's putting in the effort into trying to defend. So he'll get it. That's going to improve.
Yeah, for sure. Let's. Do you want to do like just a few comments before we move on to OG?
Okay, we could do that. Like, and we talk about, you know, the first part of the show, we talk about the team and you know, how we judge the team. So shout out to Space Gold, said the team met expectations so far. Second part of the season, we have some very tough games ahead. Don't disagree.
Yeah.
Let me see. Next one. Again, from Space Ghost. Town has exceeded expectation, but can he stay healthy for the playoffs? I mean, right now he's been, you know, he's been there. He's been pretty healthy. You know, he's missed the game, and we saw what happened with the finger. So this is something that could happen in any game. So I don't see any reason why he, you know, even when he had the knee issue there, he still played through it. I think he'll be fine, unless, of course, you play in the NBA, anything can happen. But right now, it doesn't strike me as somebody who's injury prone. You know, things happen, and he played through them. So, right. Shout out to David Smith, said, Cat, Knicks best player in their MVP. Any comment on that one?
I think I don't think it matters, but I think the playoffs is going to tell that story. But I think it's fair to say he's playing the best right now.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah. Shout out to Old Head, says can't wait to see Mitch next to Cat when we play Twin Towers, like Cavs, Magic, and Bucks. Yeah. I don't know how they're gonna juggle that. So I guess Cat will move to the 4. I don't know. That's gonna be something to see how Tibbs manage that. You know, when we get to that, if we ever get to that at this point. Shout out to A Train, said Cat ain't looking soft now, huh? Don't disagree.
Yeah. For sure.
And going back to Old Head, said Cat's hand injury is concerning. He's on NBA this year. I mean, the hand injuries, I was more nervous about the knee injury or the knee discomfort or whatever the hell that was, but he came back quick. So the finger, I think that's it. You know, hopefully he doesn't have to, you know, hopefully it's just a bruise or something like that, then we can go back.
No, it's like a bone chip or something. I think.
They said that. Yeah. I didn't see that report. It's a bone chip.
Yeah, it's concerning because it's a shooting hand too. So,
if it's a bone chip, that's surgery material.
Yeah, like he might have pretty much fractured his thumb.
Oh. But then the rest of the article was talking about it almost as if it was just a sprain. You're right. They talked about the chip first, and then they was talking about it.
That's what I read. I heard it was a sprain.
If a bone chipped off,
don't sound like a sprain to me. It was in the same article too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A bone
chip. Both. He could have a sprained thumb and a chip too.
Yeah.
He could have both.
True.
That is true.
Because he had the swelling, that's why he didn't play against the Sixers, because that swelling was still up on his hand. It's there. I don't know if it's to be believed. It's Knicks medical, so you just take it with a grain of salt. You don't ever know. Like he could be out the next 9 months, and then they'll be like, "Oh, he's day to day." But my understanding is they weren't really concerned about the chip. But it was more due to the swelling, and if the swelling had subsided, that he would have played last night. So I don't understand all the medicine behind that. I'm not a doctor, but apparently they're not overly concerned with the bone chip for whatever reason.
Okay.
All right. Yep, that's it.
All right, let's go to OG Anunoby. I mean, there was a stretch. When I was like, oh man, we done struck gold right now. This guy about to be Kawhi light, playing good defense and really showing a diversified offensive game, scoring on all three levels, posting up, driving to the basket with the pull-up jumper, hitting the threes in the corner and above the break. I'm like, wow. Whoa. Then the clock struck 12, and I'm not sure if that was just how much energy he's putting out on the defensive end. It's just untenable to try to be able to do both. That could be it. And then lately, his 3-point shooting. I don't know what it is statistically over the past few games, but to the eye test, particularly in that Philly game, I felt like every time he had an open shot, he missed until he hit that big one. I don't know if that was in the fourth or in overtime. But yeah, let's talk about OG Anunoby. Has he met expectations coming into this season? What have you seen so far, and what would you like to see going forward? Ajay, Geoff, and then Jerrell.
So the quick, direct answer to that, yes, he's met expectations. And when we traded for OG Anunoby, we knew who he was. Like defensively, he was tenacious. He is a very good pesty defender, and he's shown that, right? We came, a lot of fans came up with this term wing stop, for OG and listen, these guys are not. We call them wing stops. Yeah, they're both very good wing defenders, but they're not wing stops. Okay, their job is to really slow down the whoever they're defending, and give us a better shot at winning. And I think OG has definitely done that. On the defensive end, yes, he's met my expectation because we know what we was getting, and so on the offense, he's exceeded our expectation because he's had some tremendous shooting game that I didn't know he had in him. And you go back to what he was doing in when he was with the Raptors, he had some games where he scored modest scoring games, but I mean, but here, like, there are some games where he literally took over on offense and then give us over 30 points. He has a few games with the Knicks with 30 plus points. So he's exceeded, and then knock on wood, keep our fingers crossed, he's been healthy. Something he in the past, it's rare that OG has played most of the season. So he's, aside from last season when he would, this season so far has been pretty good, and hopefully it stays like this. So health-wise, he's also exceeded expectation. I don't even know if that's an expectation at this point, but he's been healthy, thank God, and hopefully he stays healthy because we're gonna need him if we're gonna win. Okay, so he's met expectation on deep as the defensive guy that he is when we traded for him, and everything else he's exceeded.
Yeah. For sure. Geoff?
Let's get this guy a hammock. Dude needs a nap. Just looks tired to me. Like, he just, of all the guys who are overtaxed by minutes, it just feels like he's taking it the worst, if you will. And maybe that's because he's been injured for most seasons in the past and he's not used to this workload or this level. He's been, knock on all the wood that you can. But he's been healthy. Players like OG are always difficult to gauge because so much of defense is, not captured in statistics, and he's the third or fourth option depending on the day offensively. So to ask him to give like a consistent, like this many point performance could be tough because you don't know how many shots he's going to take from one night to another. And even on a night like last night, where I think it was 3 for 10 from 3, which is not great, especially on that volume. Even Josh Hart said at the start of the fourth quarter, what does he do? He gets in that corner. Brunson draws 2, comes in, flushes the basketball. And that seemed to really be the play that kind of settled us down and got us started, and was like everybody just kind of branched out from there. And then, I'm not going to give up on OG after 42 games. I think he still provides a lot to this team. I would be kind of interested if we could kind of get his minutes curtailed just a little bit. And I don't know if that's with Mitchell Robinson coming back and switching guys down a spot more, or I don't know exactly how that's going to happen. But I think if you can give him, like, for instance, if he gets to the All-Star break, I think after the break he'll have a surge where he'll play really well again, and people remember, oh yeah, this is why we traded for this guy. Either that or get him to play the Toronto Raptors for 82 games a season, because he likes to cook them like chicken, boy. Or, you know, and maybe get him his own personal microphone that he gets to take before each game. That might help too.
Yeah. Jerrell?
I think OG's been who I thought he was going to be, but he definitely has not exceeded my expectations on offense. I thought he would be a little bit more consistent. But I do see what Geoff was talking about with the minutes and stuff and his energy. So I really can't. It's kind of hard to gauge it now, because I definitely expected him to be more consistent. We didn't get the Bridges yet, so I'm gonna definitely get on him later. But yeah, OG, I expect to be a little bit more consistent on offense. Like, his ball handling alone is, I don't know, sometimes it's kind of hard to watch. And that's an energy thing too. A whole lot of want to when it comes to making those moves when you have to produce your own points. But yeah, he's exceeded my expectation when it comes to defense and stuff like that, because that's what OG does. I never thought that was going to be lacking, but the offensive side of the court is what concerns me more about OG. Like, we need him to be in a hot zone, you know, in the playoffs, because if he's playing like he's playing now or shooting like he's shooting now, then we're not going to make it far.
Yeah. You think so? Like, do you not think that we have enough offense from the other players that OG can be like, to me, I feel like the most important thing we need from OG Anunoby is that 3-point shooting. Off of Cat, off of Brunson, you know, to be able to provide that space. And anything else he gives us is almost gravy. But do you think that he needs to, for this team to be successful, we need more than the 3-point shooting? We need him to be able to count on him game in and game out for, I don't know what, 12 points, 15 points?
Yeah, if I can't count on him for 12 points, damn. He's playing like 40 minutes a game.
12, 15, 17, 16.
Yeah, he needs to be more consistent and more than just shooting threes, specifically because of the way that Mikal Bridges is playing also. Like, neither one of them is consistent. So since they're both inconsistent, yes, both of them need to step up, and whatever they're lacking, like whether it's 3 points, not 3 points, off the dribble or whatever. Like, for some reason, neither one of them can have a good game during the same game. I don't think I've seen that all season. So he's just inconsistent. I think he needs to do more than just be a 3-and-D guy. Some nights he's going to need to score the basketball. It's just a fact. Like it's been times when the shots don't fall, what happens? Like, we're just going to lose the game, or does OG or Mikal Bridges, we haven't talked about him yet, one of them has to step up. Sometimes both of them need to step up.
Yeah.
Case in point, last night, real quick, you saw the last possession of regulation, right?
Yeah.
That looked like Looney Tunes. What was that? Why did they even give OG that last shot? Like, that looked bad. Like, that didn't look good at all.
I don't think that's what they drew. That's what the defense gave him.
Oh, well, if I was playing defense, that's what I would have gave him too.
Yeah.
If it's gonna look like that, that's bad.
Yeah, that's one of those. You like, those shoot the three, man. You know,
right.
you have better shot of it going in than try to dribble the ball.
Than doing what he did. I didn't know he was playing Twister with himself. Like, I didn't know what he was doing with the basketball. Like, I didn't like that. That was bad. Like, in the playoffs, that's not gonna fly in the playoffs when you have the last possession in a game like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is why we do stuff. It's always stair steps. It has to get, like, he hasn't reached his ceiling on offense. Like, that's abundantly clear to me. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure about OG. Like, there's a part of me that's like, I'm sure he's doing what he needs to do on the defensive end.
Mhm.
Whatever he gives us on the offensive end is gravy. Just hit those corner shots to provide us space. But you made a good point. Given how Bridges is playing, and some games Bridges looks right, some games he doesn't. I don't know if we could, afford for him to just be a 3-and-D, player. So going forward from OG Anunoby, I need him to look less slinky. Like, I just feel like he's just like, I just need him to stand up, and make your moves. Everything is falling down. He reminded me a little bit of Mitch now, falling down off of shots, falling down when he's driving to the basket, falling and falling.
He looks clumsy. He just looks clumsy when he has the ball in his hand.
But I think going forward, continue to play good defense, hit that corner 3 shot, and to your point, Jerrell, whatever you can give us, on the offensive. And can I get 15 points from OG Anunoby every night?
Right.
Is that a lot to ask given his defensive load? I don't think so. So that's what I would like to see for him going forward. Just be a little bit more consistent with it. He's just been like, he was on fire for a period, and then he just dropped off for a period. It's too much fluctuations. So yeah, but otherwise, I'm glad he's on the team. I'm glad that whatever he did in the offseason in terms of health and it's helping. I'm not as concerned. I mean, anything can happen, but I'm just not as concerned on injury wise when I look at him. He just, I don't know. That's just, I don't know. No way to tell though. No way to tell. Anything else about OG Anunoby?
You wanna hit the chat on OG before we move?
Yeah,
forward?
we can hit the chat on OG. Just a few before we move on.
There's not a lot. Let me see here. Okay, so this was actually posted before you start talking about OG. Tibbs overplaying OG and Bridges. They need to rest. That is why both are struggling offensively. So offensively is struggling. I mean, they have good games. I mean, Bridges is not, Bridges has some excellent, some games he carry us like all flat out. He's the best scorer. So I don't know if they're struggling. They're just not consistent. Both of them on offense.
I mean, Bridges scored 0 points against OKC.
Yeah. Well, in some games he's 20, 25, 27.
Yeah, but 0 is crazy. 0 is not that's not normal. That doesn't usually happen.
Yeah, but is that because he's tired, Jerrell? I mean,
0, you could throw something up and get 2 points. Actually, like he played 40-something minutes, man. Like he has 0. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not saying that he doesn't, play a lot of minutes. And yes, he definitely was tired, but 0, nah, I can't defend 0. You can't defend 0. Not a whole game. Not for a whole game. Yeah, that was crazy.
All right. Shout out to David L. Bias says OG tired. He will be a monster in the playoffs. Calling it now.
Hopefully.
I hope you're right.
And what we're talking about, OG and Mikal Bridges gets a C due to lack of consistency. Shout out to JJ who says Bridges and OG don't really stop anyone, to be honest. JJ, I have a couple other ones, so I'll go through JJ stuff. OG might be tired because he's probably never played this amount of minutes.
Games.
This amount of games in a row. And he said he's usually injured by now.
Can't argue that.
Yeah, man, we're a tough fan base, man.
It's
not a lie. It's not a lie.
It'd be the truth.
So he's not used to it. All right. So Stacksman Sadu says OG is an all NBA defender on a bad day. I don't know if y'all agree with that.
I
And part two of that, I like that OG has been finishing strong, dunking like crazy, which is fine, but they just don't want him too dribbling.
Yeah. You gotta do it more than like twice.
Yeah. And again, I close my eyes when OG dribbles the ball. Another one, OG makes me nervous when he drives to the basket because he usually falls on his way down.
Falls on his way
On
down.
his way down. Every time OG drives, my heart goes out. Let me see what else. David Smith shout out said OG Anunoby such an unselfish player who sacrifices his own personal stats and plays hard. He does play hard, but sometimes he just have bad games. Like sometimes he just I can't remember which game, and this is a game we played. You couldn't even tell OG was in the game.
Yeah, sometimes he.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it sacrificing. It's almost like he just give his stats up.
Right.
More than sacrificing, to be honest. Like he don't really want them.
Dang! Oh yeah, really?
Wait till we get on Bridges. Please do him next. Bridges pissed me off this season. He was my X factor.
Last one. OG expends a lot of energy to compensate for the starters' overall lack of defense. He's a legitimate two-way player, and something has got to give. I don't know if you can blame it on the starters, but whatever. Listen, he puts in the effort defensively, and like I said, some games he has bad. Some games are bad for him, and even on defense, he has bad games because sometimes whoever he's guarding is just running rampant out there. He's not stopping anything. So,
the number that matters though is one loss record, and the Knicks record with OG Anunoby in the lineup is fantastic. So
somebody posted our record too, but I didn't start it.
Be a results merchant. He helps the team win, and that's obvious.
That is true.
Oh, here it is. Andrew K is right here. 7-18 when OG plays. 47-18 when OG plays.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yep.
Next. He's okay. Yeah, go ahead. He's playing okay.
No, that was it. So we go next player.
Yep. Let's go with Mikal Bridges. I think I'll go first this time. He struggled throughout the season. I think my expectations was a little higher of him. Basically meaning that he would get his stride. He would hit his stride a bit earlier than he has. I do think he's coming into his own. I do think we're beginning to see what he can bring to this team. He's not as consistent as I would like him to be, but he, on the offensive end, to me, he's just a better, more complete player than OG Anunoby, more polished than OG Anunoby on that end, and has more of a go-get-'em attitude than, though OG has been more aggressive this year than I thought he would be. And you're right. I would like to see both of them, playing well at the same time. That is yet to happen. I think he struggled defensively to start the season. I think his defense is better. I think it's really hard to see his impact and OG's impact when you have other players that are just not that great on the defensive end. And like one or two plays is not going to get it. You really need to be on the string. The other three players don't have to be dynamos, but they need to be at their spots, consistently. And that's not always the case. There's times when the Knicks are really connected, and the work that Bridges is putting in and the work that OG is putting in shows. And there's other times when they're out there and they're working really hard and you couldn't even tell because everyone else is just, they're not getting the defensive support that they need. So, I like what I'm seeing from Bridges. Like, I'm really hopeful about what's possible for him and what's possible for the Knicks. My expectations of him is still high in terms of him really solidifying himself as that third option for the Knicks. And I see it. It's clear. So he'll get there. He'll get there. I've seen enough to know that he has it. You know, Geoff.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll start off with positive. I think one of the most encouraging possessions for Mikal Bridges came last night in that Philly game, the first Philadelphia possession in overtime. And they were trying to run a dribble handoff, and Yabusele had the ball, and he was guarding Maxey, and he got his hand in the way, and the ball went off Maxey's knee and out of bounds for a turnover. And then Jalen hits the three on the other end, and that put us at 5. That's something I haven't really seen enough of from him, but it showed me what he's capable of. And I think if he was doing that on a more consistent basis, I would be more than thrilled with him. Now, I think context always matters, and this guy's playing more minutes probably than anybody else in the league. So it's obvious that Coach Tibbs, whatever you think of him, Coach Tibbs loves Mikal Bridges. Like, you can tell by the minutes he gets on the floor. So from that standpoint, I think he does a lot. His point of attack defense hasn't been as good as I hoped it would be. I didn't really know what to expect because I don't watch Nets games. So and his defense kind of dropped off when he was there. And I didn't watch Phoenix much when he was second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. So I didn't have a real big book on him. I just kind of assumed that the point of attack defense was going to be really good. I haven't really seen that so far. But I do like the mid-range game. I love that you can get him the ball inside the 2-point. He can make those tough, like, no, yes kind of shots. I mean, he just, with his back to the basket fadeaways, all that stuff within 15 feet is really nice and stuff. And that's important in the playoffs because a lot of times those are the shots a defense is going to give you, right? They're going to try and take away the threes, and they're going to try and take away everything at the rim. Well, here's a guy in Bridges who can excel at those, mid-range difficult shots, and he's not afraid to take them either. I'm going to borrow a line from our buddy Ron, still Knick fans. I don't think he's doing enough of the ancillary stats. Like
that is true.
I think you look at him. I think the Philly game is a perfect example. He had 23 points. He shot the ball well from 3, but he did take 19 shots. And then I think he had like 2 rebounds and 2 assists. And, I want more of that stuff if you're not to be consistent as far as the scoring is concerned. And he seems like he's like the streakiest shooter in the league. I mean, he'll go a month where he doesn't hit a shot, and then all of a sudden he's 11 for his next 14 from 3. And it's like, the one day he's hitched Bridges, and the next day he's fine. My son always says, I think it's best thing for Bridges is just as soon as he catches it, just put it up without thinking, because he's more likely to get it in than if he's got time or, to work out. No, just don't think me, just shoot it. And he just seems to do better. So there's a lot of inconsistency there. He's only been with the team 42 games, but he's played all 42 games. I definitely think he's an
minute
upgrade
of every game.
And I think he's better than Dante DiVincenzo. I just think that he is. He may not be the shooter that he is, but I think his overall game is just stronger. And I think Mikal and OG are going to be okay.
Yeah. Jerrell.
Sorry, I was on mute. Bridges was my X factor in the beginning of the season, so he's definitely disappointed me, but mostly because of the inconsistencies on the offensive end. A lot of the stuff that Geoff already talked about. Even defensively, he's gotten a lot better. He struggled in the beginning of the season on defense too, but he's gotten better. But I think Bridges, I don't know, it seemed like I'm seeing more Phoenix Suns Bridges, and I would rather see a lot more Brooklyn Nets Bridges, if that kind of makes sense. Like on offense, he was a lot more free with the Nets, and for some reason, even with him being our third option, I don't know, I think he should be more aggressive. I think he can actually average more points than he's getting his shooting has gone down a little bit. And I could tell. I don't know. I don't know if he's comfortable yet. Like he just doesn't seem comfortable with the team yet when it comes to his shooting. Or I don't know if his MSG or what. Even his free throw shooting is down. And for like a guard free throw shooting to go down like 10 points is kind of crazy. Like he's shooting 71%. And last year he shot 81 from the free throw line. So there's something wrong with his shot still to me. And yeah, he's definitely inconsistent. Like the 0 points against OKC, what was that? Like I can't get off of that. Like I don't remember the last time I've seen a starter of that caliber just go over for the whole game. Like even the free throws he didn't make. So that's just mental stuff. Like to me, Mikal Bridges is a lot better than what he has shown us so far. I think he's going to be an all-star one day. It's not going to be this year, but I think going forward, he's going to be a good player for us. He just has to live up to my expectations, I guess.
Yeah, and to your point, he didn't shoot well 0 for 9. That happens, not often, but it happens. But the next game, to only take 5 shots.
Right.
Like that was like, what is that about? Is that a confidence issue? What? But then he came back the game after and he looked pretty good. So I don't know. He's trying to figure it out. I guess. But his ceiling is pretty high. His ceiling is pretty high. Ajay, your thoughts on Mikal Bridges?
And I'm I'm probably gonna repeat some of the stuff you guys already said here, and I agree with Jerrell that the inconsistency is very glaring. It's not troubling, but like you said, Queen, he's gonna be better. All right, and I'm not making excuses for Mikal Bridges. I'm one of the people who felt like we paid too much, not too much for him not because he's not worth what the picks that we paid for him, but because we were in a better negotiating position. We were able to negotiate more when we got him, and we had a whole show talking about that. I felt that the Brooklyn Nets really had no options but to trade him, and he pretty much said he wants to come to the Knicks, so we really could give it. But anyway, that's I don't want to go away from what we're talking about. He's a little bit below expectation for me. Like he didn't meet expectation, and not to say that he won't, because I think he will, because he has a track record. We've seen him play in the league, and we watched his game, so we know he's better than what he's shown. The inconsistency is one of the reasons why he hasn't met expectation, and also defensively, like I expected him to be a better defender than he is. Same thing with OG Anunoby. I don't know if the league is making it a point to play those guys tougher, but I'm not getting the defense I expected from neither one of those guys.
Really? From OG either?
OG, well, lack of consistency with OG. He puts the effort more so than Mikal Bridges, because Mikal Bridges, he hasn't been great on defense, like the way we expected him to be, the way we thought he was going to be here. OG's much better. But and Jerrell, that you're starting to sound like me, and I hold that Brooklyn game that we lost to Brooklyn, I don't know, like 3 seasons ago. I still think about that. So I wake up in the middle of the night in cold sweat thinking about that game. So you're gonna be waking up thinking about Mikal Bridges shooting, scoring 0 points in a game against OKC for years to come.
You're right.
Yeah, but that you don't expect that to happen. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. It's get in the, and somebody mentioned this in the chat too. I would like to see him drive a little more, get more fouls, because he rarely goes to the line, Mikal Bridges. So he needs to be a little more aggressive in terms of attacking the basket and getting guys in foul trouble. And I want to reference a game a couple of days ago when we played Detroit Pistons. Queen, we watching that game, and then I'm texting Queen, right? I said, Queen, Cade Cunningham had 4 fouls in the first half. Let's see if the Knicks figure out to send somebody at him, get him to pick up that 5th foul early in the third quarter. he ended up with just 4 fouls. He never picked up another one. That I don't know if that's the entire organization that messed up there. Because like you got to play with some strategy.
Wait a minute, Leon Rose too?
I'm about to say Worldwide West.
Listen, Worldwide West is behind the bench. Whispering tips is, Kate got 4 fouls, right? Send somebody at him. Send Mikal Bridges at him.
Okay.
Get that 5th foul, because the boy come in within the first, the 120 seconds. He scored 13 points in the 3rd quarter. Nobody on that bench say, "Yo, can we get him that 5th foul? Get him out the game."
Right. But I think he was also more disciplined in that second half as well. But they definitely could have tried.
They didn't try. So
right. And I'll just say about Mikal Bridges, he's never been a big free throw attempt guy. That 1 year in Brooklyn, it went up to 6.6. Not is it the first year in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. You're right.
That first year in Brooklyn, right?
Like that half season that he played.
That half season, right? 6.6. The season after that, 3.9. So that's been him. 1.4, 1.7, 1.9. 1 year in Phoenix, it was 4.3, 3.1, 3. I mean, this is an all-time low though at 1.2, but it's not really his thing. And the same thing with rebounding: 3.2, 4, 4.3, 4.4. Last season 4.5. Now he's down to 3.1. So that's somewhat of a drop off, like almost 1.5 rebounds. He's not an ancillary stat guy, I see.
But he playing more minutes too.
Huh?
He playing more minutes and getting less stats too.
Yeah.
Like 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
But his role is much different too. He's not.
That's true.
It's not like his volume is way up and his stats are way down. I mean, maybe his volume is up a little bit. I don't know. I haven't looked at the numbers that close on it, but he went from being the number 1 option in Brooklyn to being number 3.5 here in New York. I mean, and frankly, I don't want him getting shots that Cat or Brunson can take anyway. So and then you got to share the ball with OG sometimes. And then, and Josh Hart has a big role on offense as kind of a point forward sometimes. So, all of that factors in to his touches and what he does.
Yeah. Last year, his usage was 24.3. This year is 19, which is more than it was, except for one season with Phoenix.
Right.
No, actually, when it was 22.6, it was between 2 teams. So this is the most. This is consistent with more than his usage when he was with Phoenix, and even that half year with Phoenix before he was traded, it was 19.2. Now it's 19. Now it's 19.0. Rebound percentage then was 6.6%. Now it's 4.6%. I don't know. I'd like to see more, but that just hasn't been his game. And are we asking guys to do something that they haven't historically done? Yeah. Salute, Trey.
What up, Trey?
What's up, fam? What's going on? What's going on?
He stayed busy. He was on another show for this, and he graced us with his presence. That's awesome. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, we had to get the NFL preview on for this week, so I figured I'd stop through after the show. So appreciate you guys having me.
Of course, anytime. You're welcome anytime. We were, I think we got 2 players. Like we were going through the starters. We were just finishing up Bridges before we moved to Hart. And just basically, what have you seen so far, and what would you like to see going forward?
Some rest. some rest for these guys. I mean, they did it again last night with playing over 40 minutes. I think just Brunson went over 40. I think Bridges went over 40,
Mhm.
and yet still, even with Cat being out for the game, we still couldn't find enough minutes for some of the bench. So for me, that's got to change. I don't know if you got to make a trade or what, but man, you're going to tire these guys out by the time when it really counts.
Yeah. Anything specific about Bridges?
Nothing really. He's playing better than he had the last several weeks. So I just like him to continue. I'd like for him to be that clutch wing though. Like when the games really count, when we get into April, into the playoffs, I want him to be more of the go-to guy, kind of like how Chris Middleton was the go-to guy from Milwaukee when they won the championship a few years ago. I'd like for Bridges to be that guy.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think, having seen him this year, having seen him in Brooklyn and in Phoenix, do you think he can be?
I think he can be. I really do. I mean, as long as, he don't get tired out, but I do think that, with his wingspan, his height, and, doing it on both ends of the floor, I really think he can be. I think he got some dog in him. I really do. I don't feel like he showcases it enough, but I feel like he got that demon in him that if he wanted to, if he decided he wanted to, take over for, 4 or 5 possessions in a row, that he could do that.
Yeah. Maybe he's deferring a lot. Obviously his role has changed. His role has changed, right? This is in Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, he would take the last shot to the game, and he was cold with it too. Sometimes he would just come down, pull up, so he has it in him. That's not his role. So I guess he's trying to figure it out. Like, when does he have the opportunity to do that? But yeah, hopefully he'll feel more comfortable. We've seen it, where we see glimpses of it. We like, wow.
Yeah, right.
Right. And just wanting to see more of that.
I think when Brunson has when Brunson has one of those games where he's not, like, his shot's not falling, or he's just not, getting to the cup, or he's double teamed. And that's another thing about Brunson. He's been double teamed quite a bit, and he's not getting it to the open man. I've noticed that a couple times yesterday in the game, and I've noticed it, on several occasions earlier in the season. But if Brunson does have one of those games where he's just not finding his shot, then yeah, I would love Bridges to be that guy to be like, okay, I'll take the pressure off you. Let me go get mine. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on, because let's quicken the pace. Let's move on to Josh Hart. Jerrell, I know you're gonna be leaving soon, so you can start.
Josh Hart might be my MVP of the team. Like, Josh Hart has been balling, man. He's been playing really, really well, man. I think he's the engine of the team. He's the quote unquote heart of the team. I don't know. It's not enough I can say about him this year. Like, he's shooting better. His floor game has gotten pretty good. Like, he handles the ball more. Like, we actually run the offense through him. Yeah, Josh Hart has been the man. Like, I did not expect him. Like, I expected him to play well, but he's getting a triple-double almost every other night now. Like, this is uncharted territory for Josh Hart. I think this is the best that he's played in his entire career. The way he's playing now. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Tibbs. I don't know if it's that he's playing and he's comfortable in New York and he's playing with his boys, but Josh Hart is balling. Like, I did not expect this from him. Like, last night he had 17, 12, and 10. And the 17 were rebounds. Like, he's a 6'4" guard doing this. So like, Josh Hart is the man. I need to get a Josh Hart jersey.
Yeah. I think you're right. And the thing about it is, he making it look easy. Like, this is just another day at the job.
Right.
For me, it's not like he's hot and he's on a hot streak. It's like this is just what it is. This is how I play, game in and game out. I think what's not noticed a lot is his playmaking ability and how much he creates for others on the team. Behind Brunson does it as well, but Josh Hart, his playmaking and his play creation, his shot creation has been really, really, really good for us in transition, in the half court, and he's knocking that three. Now, I don't know if this is Josh Hart in terms of that three-point shooting, and this is not a mirage, and the clock is not going to strike 12, and this is just who he is, that really, really bodes well for us. How many attempts is he getting up a game? Because that's going to be important as well.
I can look. Hold on.
Particularly in the playoffs, you got to get that volume up also to get respect, right? It's not just not just the percentage, but he doesn't seem to be hesitating as much as he did last season. He's just a dog. He's just he's just a dog.
The crazy part, Steph, he's shooting around the same when it comes to volume. He's just hitting them more.
How many he's taking a game?
Last year it was 3.2. This year is 3.4.
I think he need to get that up to 5. And what's his percentage right now?
37, 36.9.
All right. It's not like he 40%. But the only reason why I'm saying to get his volume up, particularly in the playoffs, is to get more respect, because it's going to come a point where teams are going to have to pick their poison. And they'll be like, well, he's shooting 37%, but he's only taking 2 per game. So we'll leave him, because even if he hits 2, that's not going to really hurt us, too much. So if he can get his volume up a little bit, particularly in the playoffs, then teams are going to think twice about doubling off of him.
Yeah, even his free throws has gone up. Like this season, I'm looking at his stats now. This season is the first time he shot over 80% from the free throw line. Like Josh Hart is having a career year. Yeah, in every category.
Yeah. What's the rebounds this year?
9.6. He's averaging 10 rebounds and 14 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Josh Hart. How many assists? Almost 6, 5.7. So round that up to 6. So he's averaging 14, 10, and 6.
Wow.
Like, what else can you say about Josh Hart? You can't say anything negative about him, at least to me.
Yeah. And 17 rebounds. That's wow. Yeah. Anybody else?
I'll go next real quick. And I second.
Well, hold on, Ajay. Let me. I'm gonna head out. Thank you all for having me again. Thank you, Steph. I'll see you next week. My man Trey came in the clutch. Ajay, Geoff, y'all already know what it is, man. I'll see y'all next week.
All right, man.
Yeah, get some rest, Jerrell.
Peace. Thank you.
All right.
Queen, I was gonna say, so Mikal Bridges, he's I'm gonna second what you and Jerrell was saying just now, and I'm just gonna add Hart. I'm sorry, Josh Hart. And he's, we going over expectation. He's above expectations. And that's saying a lot, because literally every season he's been here, every season, like, he plays better and better and better. So right now we're seeing the best we've seen of Josh Hart. Right. He's been our most consistent player. Like, you really get the same effort from him every night. The only thing I would want him to do more, and I think you just pointed it out, is I want him to shoot more. Yeah. I just want him to shoot more, to be a little more aggressive shooting. His mid-range is pretty good. He's gotten better on from the 3-point line this season. So you just want him to be more aggressive. He's scoring more, but you feel like he could do even more on offense than he is actually doing right now. So I would like to see him do a little bit more of that. But he's definitely been amazing, and this is the best he's playing. So we have guys who are playing the best ball of their careers right now on this team. So yeah, he's way above expectation, even better than last year. And last season, he was above what I expected from the little bit we had from him the season prior. Yeah. So he's just better and better and better. So yeah, if he's out there, he gives you the same effort every night.
Every night.
Every night.
Every night. Geoff?
Oh, I love me some Josh Hart now. It's crazy because triple doubles are not a thing that Knicks players do. Like, this is not something that to be fair, a lot of franchises, unless you've had Oscar Robertson or, Russell Westbrook or, a couple other players who
LeBron.
are, there are a few others, Magic Johnson probably
Mhm.
is up there too. But,
Mhm.
unless you have a player like that, a lot of teams don't have a lot of triple double guys. But the way that, I mean, he's only the second Knick in history beside Richie Guerin to have 5 triple doubles in the same season. That's crazy. And
Yeah.
I've noticed that when MSG does a quiz, you better just have Richie Guerin in your back pocket because like every third day, Richie Guerin's name is on. I never saw him play, obviously, but obviously the guy could ball. But yeah, I love Josh Hart because you don't need volume from him. Like I just love what he does. He's such a connector. I think Karl Anthony Towns has really opened up his game because the floor is more spaced. It allows him to do those things with the ball, with his passing and
Right.
playmaking. I will agree with Knicks 100 a GM. The whole jump pass in the air, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it, is a little bit scary at times. I think he does that a little bit too much, but I think you take the good with the bad, and the good far outweighs the bad. I've never seen a player 6'4" who can rebound the way he can. That's crazy. Like he
Barkley.
rebounds better than most power forwards. That's insane.
Yeah. Barkley was 6'4".
Yeah.
But to
All
be
the
in
way
that
around
company,
though.
but to be in that company, that says a lot. Yeah, that says a lot. Traded. You spoke about
Josh Hart.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's two things. His free throw shooting has gotten better this year by about 2 percentage points. I think he's at 81%, 82% for the season so far. I know he was about 78, 79% last year, but him making the free throws in the situations and his percentage getting better, I like that. And then the way he plays, we just talking about triple doubles and stuff. He kind of reminds me of Draymond in Golden State. The way Draymond can get guys around him, better shots, his rebounding, and those 10 to 12 points that you could use, every so often. He plays like Draymond to me a little bit, except Draymond is 6'7", something like that. But yeah, you're right, Geoff. You never seen a dude that's 6'4" to be getting boards the way he gets boards like that. So that's the two things for me that when it comes to Josh Hart, those are the things that kind of stand out.
Yeah, for sure. He's a big part of what we do. And in terms of him going to the bench, yes, if you bring in a power forward that's better than him, absolutely. He can go to the bench. I don't know if I'm moving him just to be moving. It's one of them things like you move one piece, it affects, it affects the
Affects everything.
It affects everything. Yeah, he's just phenomenal. I got a chance to watch him up close in Washington for both of those games. The energy on this guy, the motor on this guy. Because listen, banging down low, getting in there, getting rebounds. It's not easy on the body, but he just does it. And he's somebody who gets rebounds out of his area. Just phenomenal. Yeah.
Is Charles Barkley really 6'4"? He seems bigger than that.
He is bigger, but taller.
No. I thought he was like 6'6", 6'7" out there. Like
no,
he was
no.
Back in his media guide height might be that, but anybody who's met him in person says he's closer to 6'3" or 6'4".
No way. Wow.
Yeah. I think his size maybe makes him
6'3". John Starks.
Taller.
John Starks was 6'3", 6'4".
He's 6. I mean, we could look it up. We could look.
Barkley was same height as John Starks. I don't see that, man.
Yeah. All right. Let's move to Brunson, and then we're gonna do the bench quickly. We're gonna do the bench as a whole, but let's get through with Brunson. Geoff.
You know what? Brunson is Brunson. It's funny because I was having this conversation on X. with somebody, I forget who, probably one of the KFS folks, but last night just seemed like a last year kind of a game. You know what I mean? Because Cat wasn't in the lineup, and yeah, you had Bridges instead of DiVincenzo, but it had a feeling of last year's Knicks team post January. It really kind of had a lot of the similar feel, a lot of the similar pieces, and I actually think Brunson is more comfortable when he doesn't have to share being the first option. Like, he was phenomenal last night scoring the ball. He had 8 points in the overtime, which was more than the Sixers had. It was just, I mean, and he had 2 boneheaded turnovers that sent the game to overtime. So, you take the good with the bad, and I think he had 5 turnovers overall. But what I noticed last night more than I've seen in a while is when the Sixers brought 2 to the ball, he was getting the ball out of the double team, leading to a 4-on-3 for the Knicks on offense, even in the half court set. And I think what you saw in overtime, we scored the ball so easily because they were flat out not even disguising it with a picker. They were just flat out putting 2 on Brunson. He'd get the ball inside real quick. And we had, Precious actually missed Bridges in the corner, not once, but twice. But I mean, we still were able to get points on both of those possessions. One, because, Achua had that acrobatic, crazy finish. I don't know where that came from, but I'll take it.
Can't do the easy ones, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then we got another easy bucket, and I think maybe a layup or a dunk on one of the others. And so I really just, I think that he's having a good season. I think he kind of has us spoiled. He's been so good for so long the last couple of years that if he's not getting like 29 and 8, we're like, what's wrong with Jalen Brunson? And, he's still Jalen Brunson. I think the last 4 or 5 games, he's really been lighting it up, I feel like, from a scoring perspective. But I honestly think that he's still trying to figure out when to take control and when to defer and those sorts of things. I don't think he's kind of figured that part out with this group. So I think that'll get better because I think he's really smart. But I think some of the times when you see it start to stagnate and slow down, it's because he feels like he needs to unnecessarily, because I think he's got better shooters around him than he's ever had. So I just think that I still think he's an all-star. You might say that Cat's kind of taken some shine, but Cat's been all world, and so it's easy to fall in a shadow of someone playing as brilliant as Towns is, and and they're still figuring out how to be a dominant tandem. But when they're out there together, and what I like about it is when we stagger them and kind of in that second quarter, when Brunson gets out to rest, used to be that was death, and now Cat can come in and carry the load for him, and then he can sit for a good portion of the second quarter and then be more rested at the end of the game. And that's a luxury we didn't really have last year. That's, in fact, of the big 4 guys, I think the minutes are the least on Brunson of the other 4, if I'm not mistaken. Cat may be closer to that because he gets in foul trouble sometimes, but I'm pretty sure that Hart and Bridges and OG all are doing more minutes per game than Brunson, and I think that's part of the luxury of Cat, and I think it's one of the reasons why we're going to see a better version of Brunson in the fourth quarter coming down the stretch.
Okay, all right, Ajay, your thoughts on Brunson this season, whether he's met your expectations and what you want to see going forward?
So first, the expectation. I expected him to, I don't know if you guys remember that when in the beginning of the season, I didn't expect him to put up the same numbers, the same kind of numbers he was doing last season. And I was saying that because I expected Cat and Mikal Bridges, and not so much OG Anunoby, to pick up a lot of the scoring. That has happened, a few games this season, and but it also has happened that Brunson had to take over some games. So he's right there. It's just that it's sometimes this way, sometimes this way, you know, so it's on and off because sometimes there are certain things that I think, and I don't know if it's the new environment, meaning the new team that's around him. There are certain things that I feel like he needs to cut back on. Like sometimes I feel like he's forcing the issue. He's having a lot of uncharacteristic turnovers at the wrong time.
Yes.
That's happening a lot this season, and I
Last
think
night it was like 2 or 3 of them.
in a row. And I think, yeah, and I think that's because he's pushing the issue. He's got to understand he has more help. So he, you know, sometimes he does understand that, but sometimes he forget. He try what people what they call hero ball. He tries to do that. He doesn't have to do that. So I don't know. I can't really judge the expectation, but he is definitely he's great. He's been great for us. Overall, when you look at some games haven't been good, but overall he's been great for this team, and he's he's doing what he's supposed to do. You know, on par to where we need to be. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, certain things he can cut back on. And I think they're starting to see that. You realize, and I think Geoff just mentioned that sometimes Josh Hart brings up the ball. Josh Hart's doing a lot of bringing up the ball, especially when they have big defenders on Brunson, or when they thinking about double teaming him. He's getting rid of the ball real quick and let somebody else bring up the ball. So he's playing a little bit smarter now. You know, so.
And the rest of you can answer this when you go in terms of the hero ball. Is that the same? I guess I'm hearing it as selfishness. Like I'm hearing hero ball as it's about me. I'm gonna get my points. Or what's your definition of hero ball, Ajay?
So hero ball to me is somebody who at some point feel like they're the only one that could get it done. Or they want to be the only one to get it done, not realizing they have help. One guy who does that, and not on the Knicks, is as good as he is. Anthony Edwards, Ant-Man, does that a lot. You know, and it works for him sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. You know, listen, and when the hero ball works, it's good. And we don't call it hero ball. We go, Brunson went off for 38 last night, and so on and so forth. But sometimes when it doesn't work, when we come up on the losing side of the ball, it seems to, it's more glaring. So if you have more help, you could get that. You don't have to be the one to push the issue, because we've seen Brunson go take on 4 defenders. We've seen him do that a few times this season. Listen, you're a little guy. You're not taking on 4 guys in the NBA and come out on top. That's just not happening.
Yeah, I think he can.
It hasn't been successful for him. Every time he takes on, and especially him, he's not getting the calls. He's not getting, nothing's happened. It hasn't worked for him.
I will say this. I think he just has to pick his spots better. Because I think anytime the best player on any team, particularly if they're a wing player, there will be times when they will take over a game. That's just part of it. You can call it hero ball. You can call it whatever you want. Everybody has done it. I've seen Michael Jordan do it. I'm not saying he's Michael Jordan. I've seen Michael Jordan do it. I've seen Kobe do it. Edwards do it. Durant do it. All of the best players on the team, there are times when they decide they're going to take over a game. And it seems like when it works, everybody is okay. Like when we lost to OKC, who did we play the next game and Brunson dropped 40? That was hero ball. Nobody was complaining. But then when he does it and it doesn't work, now it's hit, now he's playing hero ball and he shouldn't have to do it. I'm not sure what the answer is. I'm not saying I disagree. I do think there are times when he'll take it over himself, but who knows what his thought process is. His thought process might be, I'm going to try to get us off to a good spot, a good start. Another time it might be, I'm going to lay back, and I'm gonna wait and see how the game goes. Whenever I hear hero ball, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't like, oh, he's being selfish and trying to pad his stats and things of that sort. Trey?
Yeah, I don't think it's hero ball either, but I do think, and I'm going to reference last night's game, but I do think there are moments where he does get trapped into those double teams and those triple teams, and he's trying to shoot his way out of it instead of looking for the open guy. I think that's one thing that I think the Knicks as a whole have some issues with. It's not all on Brunson, but he's the guy that brings the ball up. He's the point guard. He's the floor general. He's the guy that sets everybody up. And so let me start with expectations. He's met my expectations so far this year, especially with the additions of a Mikal Bridges and the Karl Anthony Towns. So his role, while it's changed, he still, to me, is like he's the glue of the team. Like he's the guy that sets up the offense and gets the team rolling. So I think I think it's a game by game thing where he's figuring out, okay, I just need to be the guy that gets everybody involved in this game. And then maybe the next game, it's, I got to drop 40 something because, the other guys don't got it. Or in the case of last night, Karl Anthony Towns is on the bench. So, he feels like I got to be the dude to, carry us to the win. So, all in all, I think he's done great so far. But I would like to see him improve on, I guess it's awareness, I guess it's awareness when you're, when you get caught in those traps, double team wise. And, because look, when other teams play us, I mean, they find the open guy real easy. I mean, who they play? Detroit. They played Detroit a few nights ago. I mean, they had no problem finding the open guy. So we need to be able to do that just as equally as the other teams do.
Do you think him being 6'1" and getting trapped by taller players has some effect on that? Because I kind of feel like he's got to either take an extra dribble or something to be able to see what's going on because he's so much smaller. Like when you're talking about Cade Cunningham is 6'7" or something.
Right.
Like that. So if you're doubling him, it's easy for him to see the court in comparison with Brunson. I'm not making excuses for him, but
sure.
I think that that's a realistic issue when it comes. At least when I've seen him struggle with the double teams, I've noticed that it's because he kind of can't see. He's got to be able to get his bearings and see where people are at. But I think you saw in overtime against Philadelphia when he makes that pass to Precious in the post there. That was a perfect. Pass out of the double team that led to the 4-on-3. So I think it may be a matter of vision and angles for him, and that may be where his struggles come.
Yeah, I think you said it. You said it. It's the court vision. Because guys like Chris Paul, I don't know how tall necessarily Chris Paul is, but in Chris Paul's game, it seems like he knows the floor before he crosses half court. Like he knows where guys are before he gets to the other side of the court. And maybe that's something in Jalen Brunson's repertoire that he has to consistently figure out. So maybe that's the difference.
I think the recognition goes further than passing out the double teams. I think it's also when to take advantage of mismatches. When do we go to Bridges on a smaller player? When do we direct Towns into the post when there's a smaller player? I think he's met expectations. He hasn't met my expectations. I think I've expected a little bump up in his floor game, actually, and we're gonna need that when we start playing these upper echelon teams, these high leverage games you get in the playoffs. you got to be, I said this, surgical precision, in terms of, on this particular possession, this is what's open. How do I recognize it and get the ball there really, really quick? I think you can get away with not making those decisions when you're playing under 500 teams. But when you're playing the OKCs and you're playing Houston now, right, which is a really, really good team, we get further into the playoffs, you can't be leaving a lot of meat on the bone. Like you got to really take advantage of any mismatch you have, and that's on Brunson. Not just because he's the point guard, well, because he's the point guard and he has the ball in his hands a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else didn't get a chance to comment on Brunson? All right, let's move to the bench, and we're gonna take the bench as a whole. Just what have you seen from the bench so far, and what's your expectations going forward? Trey, we'll start with you.
As far as the bench is concerned, I think you've seen what I think really all you really can see right now, because I don't think it's a complete product just yet. I think it's a bench that I think, and I think the last time I was on here, I think I brought up Boston's bench from last year. Eventually they got better as the season went on. And I think in comparison, I think this is where this bench is. This Knicks bench right now is, I think they're just a unit that has to get, is trying to, work and figure some things out. I mean, we got a couple new pieces, on this bench with Campaign and Landry Shamet. So, but I love the evolution of Deuce, though. Like, I love that part of the bench, and I love that about his game, is that he's shooting better from 3-point range. And, he's not a typical point guard. He's more of a 2 than he is a 1. So, that's what I could appreciate about him. And as far as Campaign is concerned, perfect backup to Jalen Brunson for sure, because you need somebody to kind of, still play traditional point guard. And I think Campaign has done that pretty well this year.
Yeah. I would like Campaign there was a period where Campaign just wasn't aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think these last few games, he's back to his aggressive self. And we definitely need that from him. Ajay and then Geoff, just your thoughts on the bench, what you've seen so far, what you would like to see going forward.
What I see so far is, and I think Trey just mentioned, Deuce, the evolution of Deuce and Queen. We got tortured with Deuce McBride shooting back in the days, so he's come a very long way. It's very, very long way. His defense, though, for some reason, I don't know the numbers, but the eye test tells me his defense is not as stingy as it used to be. So I don't know what's going on with that. We have something good in Campaign. Most of the games he's come on, he's played pretty well for us. He had some bad games coming off the bench. I don't know what Landry Shamet's gonna be at. And who else? I'm missing somebody. Precious. Well, and well, I like Precious. The only problem I have with Precious is like he is missing too many of those bunnies at the rim. I mean, come on, guy. The simple put back for him is a challenge. He's missing the square. He's missing the backboard. Like, he's missing the bank. He's got to, like, yesterday he had 10 points. He could have easily scored 20 points yesterday because he left so many points on the floor. So he's really got to do better. But otherwise, he's playing, most of the game he's played well. He's doing a lot of activity. The defensive intensity's there. He's grabbing the rebounds. He's doing a lot of things well. But he's just got to capitalize on those bunnies. That to me, that's, you can't leave out these. You can't leave any points when you're playing in the NBA. Having said that, there's been a lot of talk about Tibbs playing the bench more. Queen, this is, and we did a show actually probably a couple of shows where we talk about that. It's a question of how do you feel? Do you feel that Tibbs is not doing the right job by not playing the bench, or do maybe we don't have the guys on the bench for him to play more minutes? So
And
that's
still win.
and still win. So that's still up in the air. We're not going to get into that conversation now, but at some point, as the season goes on, we're probably going to have another show, because the next 3-game winning streak, that's probably going to be the talk of the town. So we're probably going to have more shows discussing that.
Yeah.
But our bench, let's above or below expectation right now. I would say a little bit below because of the lack of playing time, not because they're not good, but of course if we can get reinforcement, that would be awesome. And another reason why below is because we lost Dante DiVincenzo coming off the bench. And Queen, I hated that when we did that trade. That's the one thing I didn't like about that trade, is it weakens the bench, and it's showing.
It is. We'll talk more about it when we get to Thibodeau. Jeff?
Well, when I think of the Knicks bench, I think of that scene from Friday. We ain't never got two things that match. We got cereal, no milk, Kool-Aid, no sugar, ham, no burger. It's like it's easy to criticize the Knicks bench, but that's the one area of the team that hasn't been whole the entire season. Think about how many games Precious missed. Landry Shamet missed more games than that. Campaign has missed some time. Deuce McBride has missed extended time. So is there really, other than the rookies who I don't really trust, maybe I should, but I don't really trust to play, is there anybody on the bench that we've had the entire season to really judge them by a whole body of work? I think the answer to that is no. And it's really to the point where, the one piece of the bench that I really want to see is the one that we may not see at all, and that's Mitchell Robinson. Because as Josh Hart said, we've got a monster that lying in wait on the bench to come back here in February or March, hopefully. I don't know that we can depend on that right now, but Precious Achiuwa played really well last night. I don't think the Knicks win that game without his switchability on defense. And credit to Jericho Sims, who I'm not a fan of, who came in and started and played decent minutes. When he was out there in the first quarter, the Knicks were thriving and surviving. So I think you've got to give him credit for that game as well, although I'm not a fan of his game in general. So I think that if we had a more consistent health from Precious, Mitch, Landry, Payne, and Deuce, I mean, that's what I just named off 5 guys, I think, and that would lend itself to Tibbs playing a 9-man rotation, which I think is what he would prefer if all hands were on deck. But we've had like a hand and 2 fingers the whole season, and so I think that's what you get. And maybe that's foolishness on my part. I don't know, but I need Landry Shamet to hit a shot once in a while, though.
Absolutely.
I love his defense, but he came in here with the reputation as a shooter, and I just haven't seen it. Like, it's been Brick City, USA. Campaign has been terrific. I have to echo what Trey has said a minute ago. He's been a pleasant surprise, and I think he's given us a lot of quality minutes. I think he's pretty good at the point of attack defensively, and he's a true floor general with the ugliest shot in the history of the universe that goes in at a decent clip. So I shouldn't complain, but I'm going to, because I have to watch it. But go ahead.
There's something Thibodeau must be seeing or not seeing, because Campaign's minutes are going down. They're decreasing. There was a few games where he played in the first half and he did really well, and then he played limited minutes in the second half, if he played at all. So I'm not sure if there's something statistically that Tibbs is seeing that to the eye test. I just don't see it. And maybe this weekend I'll get more into cleaning the glass and on-off numbers and things like that, and see if that's and to see if that's where where the issue, where the issue is. Ajay, everybody commented on the bench?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. The next question briefly is just, who do you think we can get more out of, in the sense of they need to step up more, or the sense that if they got more minutes, they would be able to show, show more. And we're gonna do this briefly, like 60 seconds each. Trey,
Yeah, Shamit. I go with Shamit.
you want to see more, or you feel like he could do more if he got more minutes? Or
I feel like he could do more if he got more minutes. He's only averaging about 11, 12 minutes on the on the floor right now. If he got like 15, 16, then I think that'll be a better gauge, or there'll be more opportunity for him to do a lot more. Like Geoff was saying, maybe he could shoot a lot more and get them opportunities.
Okay, Geoff.
I'm gonna go with Deuce. I just think that if we have him healthy and playing 25 minutes a game, he's a legitimate rotation piece. Plus, we got to keep Wiz with the thumbs up, and we got to say nice things about Deuce. So win-win situation there.
But that's what he was averaging though before the injury. So maybe they just bringing him along, slowly. I think he was in the 25-minute.
He was
25-minute range. Yeah.
But that also helps the minutes for Bridges and for OG and for Hart, is if he's soaking up more of those minutes, that's less minutes that they need to be on the floor. And you can play Deuce and Brunson on the court at the same time, and it's actually the on-off numbers are actually pretty good with that combination, despite their lack of size, which is fascinating.
Right. Ajay?
I don't disagree with either Shamit or Deuce. I think they would benefit from more minutes, and I'm even going to add Precious Achiuwa, because we've seen that last season with more minutes for Precious, and he played a lot better. But the player I would like to see get more minutes, because I think we could probably get more out of him, is Huck Porty. I think Ariel Huck Porty, I think we could get something out of him, especially a lot of times when Cat is out, for instance, I think Tibbs could probably find some minutes for him. It's not a matter of seeing what he's got, because he's a big body down there. He grabbed the rebound, he blocked the shots. We could see that he does certain things. So it's not a case of playing him just to see. It's a case of giving him more minutes. He would produce more and more minutes. Is he going to make some mistakes because he's a rookie? Yes. Okay, but I think we could definitely get more out of him if he gets more minutes.
Has he been back and forth to like the G League? And
yes,
he's been back and forth. Okay,
yeah. I think Daddy A is just down there to stay, right?
He hasn't seen any minutes with the Knicks, so I think he is straight up G League at this point.
Yeah. Who would I'm gonna tie this in with Thibodeau. So I agree with you. I think Deuce getting more minutes will help us. I think he will eventually get back to 25 minutes a game. I want to see more out of Shamit. I don't think his minutes need to be increased. I think he needs to do better with the minutes that he has. I think he rushes shots when he doesn't need to. Sometimes he's taking shot. He's not really set. He's just trying to get him up there. I don't think he's being selfish. I think he's just trying to come in and just, contribute to the team. I like what he's doing defensively, but your minutes in the game, that's your championship game. Like, you shouldn't even be sleeping the night before, like getting ready for your little 10 minutes. So as soon as you get in, knock a few downs, because Tibbs is a guy, once you start hitting, he has a little more confidence in you, then he'll bring you out the next game. You gotta little by little, increase his confidence in you. And I just don't think the shot making is there. He's capable, historically he's capable, but I would like to see more from Shamit in terms of making shots. And this, we're gonna segue into Thibodeau. And I like to go first because it's kind of connected to this bench thing. And basically, what have we seen from Thibodeau and what would we like to see going forward? To me, if we're not going to make a trade, then you got to grow the bench. As painstaking as it is, as much as I agree that the Knicks are not playing optimally. And I think we underestimate, like we feel like, oh, just put so and so. So like you can lose a league real quick. Like this Knicks team is not an optimal league and team just yet. And when you're playing the best teams, your starters have to play more minutes. That's just the bottom line. Like a minute or 2 or 3 could be the difference. Can be the difference in the game. That being said, every game is not like that. Every game is not like that. There's plenty of games where you can steal minutes for your, for your starters, and the game is not gonna change significantly where you won't be able to get back in it, or you have to expend a lot of energy to get back in it. And you may not have to do it with everybody, but take one of those bench guys and extend their minutes and just live with the results. And listen, when you're playing OKC, maybe that player doesn't play as much. We get it. It's a high leverage game. It's a physical game. But you got to take one player, if not two, extend their minutes a little bit at a time and try to grow your bench. I'm not saying, oh, you just need to take your bench and just play all of them 20 minutes and bring everything. No, that's, to me, that's losses. That's losses. But grow it a little bit at a time. Just grow it over time so they can get used to it. The starters can get used to it. Because the fact is, we're not even playing our bench together. That's not how we play our bench. We play 2 of them with 3 starters. This is not a bench unit like last year. You come out with a bench unit and you run 1 starter with them. No, we're running like 3 starters with 2 bench players. And so there's not a lot of confidence in the bench. And it's possible that the on-off numbers and the stats back that up. That when they're in there, things don't go well. But you got to grow it. If you're not going to go out and trade for somebody, you have to grow your bench a little by little. That's what I want to see from Thibodeau going forward. Shamit, another 3 minutes. This one, another 2 minutes, 3, 4, whatever. The house is not going to fall down in those 3 minutes, particularly if you're not playing these high leverage teams, right? That's what I would like to see. What I like is how he's been able to create a totally different offense for a totally different team, right? The Knicks are not playing, the volume game like they played last year because they don't need to. They have efficient shooters. Cat is having a career year under Thibodeau. So Thibodeau didn't bring Cat in and stick him down in the box and try to make him play a way that's not conducive to him. He looked at this entire team and said, okay, this is going to be the best thing for us offensively. This is going to be what's best for Cat offensively. And not just Cat having a career year, but by extension, Hart is also having a career year. And that, again, the spacing and taking advantage of that. So I like that about him. He's yet to figure out the best way for us to play defensively, but that could just be a person. I'm not sure if that's schematic. I think a lot of it is personnel as well, though there are games when the Knicks look great, flying around energetically, hitting their spots. Maybe it's just a matter of them buying in game in and game out on the defensive end. But that's where I'm at with Thibodeau. Ajay, Geoff, and then Trey.
I mean, are we still doing expectations like exceed?
Yeah, yeah, and what you would like to see going forward.
Well, I don't think we're gonna see anything different going forward. Like, because Tibbs is clearly not gonna change anything in the way he coaches. Over expectation, no. And if anything, So I can't think of a game that we won the game and you say we won the game because Tibbs did this. Okay. Like because there's a strategy, there's something that he did that caused us to win the game. I'm not saying he didn't. I just can't think of any right now. But you could think of games where we lost and you said because Tibbs did that. And
Which game was that?
There's a couple of games where we had the bench come and play well, and the bench either catch up or tie the game. We were behind the I can't think of which game, and then Tibbs take them all out and put the starters back in, and then we fall behind again. Okay, he's done that actually a couple of times this season. So I don't listen. I'm not a fan of Tom Thibodeau. I've said this like a million times. I don't think at this point in the season, people talking about firing Tibbs, I don't think that would make sense. Logistically, it doesn't make sense. Like, you set the team back. At this point, this team, I think if you move away from Tom Thibodeau at this point in the season, is going to be detrimental to the team. But if they get rid of him, I'm not going to shed a tear, because I don't, I'm not, lately, I don't think he's a bad coach. I just don't think, he's a great coach like people say he is. They talk about how he's a great defensive coach. I guess you're a great defensive coach if you have great defensive players, which makes sense. But if you're a great defensive coach, I want to see great defense when you don't have great defensive players. Or, as a matter of fact, I think he's better on offense than he is, because we've had great offense since he's been here. He's found a way to get us to be one of the better scoring teams, one of the best scoring teams every season after season, regardless of whatever lineup we have out there. So if anything, kudos to him for coming up with great offensive schemes. But the defense, I'm not seeing it. I think we should be, or we could be, a better defensive team at this point. So I'm not one of those great Tibbs supporters, but he's our coach, and we riding with him. We just hope he does well with the players that he has.
All right, Jeff. Or was it Trey? I'm not sure who I said was.
Go ahead, Trey.
Yeah, because I got me thinking here. So I got a question, and I don't think Tibbs is going anywhere this year. Like, I even think that he'll be coaching the team next season. But do you guys get a sense, at least from portions of the fan base, that if Tom Thibodeau does end up getting fired for whatever reason, team underperforming, we don't, reach expectations, that there's a fear that the culture that he's brought to the Knicks since he's been here goes out the door with him? You think that's a realistic fear amongst the fan base?
Oh, I don't think the fan base is afraid of that, but I think that's definitely something that would happen, because it's not like in Miami, that culture is set from Pat Riley at the top.
Yeah.
And so if Spo was to ever leave, they would bring in another coach that could carry that on. Mm-hmm. I think the Knicks culture doesn't start with Leon Rose. I think it starts with Thibodeau. And so I think if he does leave, whoever the new coach is, whatever their philosophy is, that's what would be
right.
And
then it would be a question of whoever that coach is that comes in, can that coach get these players to play, winning basketball? Because we've seen it, with other, I remember the Mike Woodson years, the year that they won 50-something games. I think it was 2013. And then the next year, the bottom fell out, and everybody's trying to figure out, well, what was the difference between the 2 years? And so, I don't think that that's a thing. Like, I'm not one of those fans that has that fear that if Tibbs goes, that the culture walks out the door with him, and that, whoever comes in, it might not, work out. But there's something about being a sacrificial lamb. I think Julius was the sacrificial lamb. And I think that if within 2-3 years we don't get to where we got to be at, then Tibbs might have to get sacrificed for the better of this team trying to get a championship. Because at the end of the day, when you're in the playoffs and rotations get a little thinner and you got a game plan per series, per game, I'm just not confident that he's going to be able to pull out some of those stops and being able to, you know, take certain guys off the bench and, you know, maybe one guy gets hot or there's a particular matchup that, you know, favors somebody on the bench. Like, I don't see him being able to do that the way I see guys like Monty Williams has done it. Eric Spoelstra has done it in the past, where you get guys that you wouldn't think would get minutes in a series, but they do end up getting it, and it works out to their favor. I don't know that Tibbs will be able to do that based on what I've seen so far with the Knicks.
Yeah. Pulling somebody off the bench, though, in a playoff game, I think you rolling the dice. And sometimes you roll the dice and it works out. And sometimes you roll the dice and, you know, and it doesn't. But I hear what you're saying. Would he even roll the dice, you know, to see?
Right.
To
like, give me something.
Right.
Yeah, like give me something. I mean, who was it? In the finals when Jason Kidd decided I'm going to play Tim Hardaway Jr., I'm going to give him some minutes. He tried to make an adjustment. It didn't work out because I think he went 0 for 5, and then the defense, you know, dropped off because of him being in the lineup. But he tried something.
Right.
He rolled the dice, and it didn't work out. But at least he tried it.
Right. Geoff?
Well, I'm going to get some tomatoes from the chat here, but I got to stick up for Tom Thibodeau a little bit here. I think we as fans kind of get up in arms when things aren't going exactly our way. Boston fans are crying for Mazzulla to get fired, and he just won the championship last year. Oh, yeah.
They just lost to the
2
Raptors.
games ahead of us in the standings. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. The coach is always easy to blame. And my first question is, how many more wins do you think we should have than we do have? We're 27-15. The schedule's going to get tougher. But as I said in the chat at the beginning, if we play 500 ball the rest of the year, we have a 47 season. I'm not saying that's what I want, but I think that this team is more than capable of doing that. So that means to me that 50 wins and a high seed in the playoffs is well within our grasp. And so, you know, it's easy for us to nitpick and say, oh, he's doing this wrong and he's doing that wrong. And all of that is valid. Like, he is not a perfect coach. But guess what? There's no such thing as a perfect coach. And I'm a fan of an organization that thought just getting rid of the head coach would be the answer to their prayers, and they went 2-8 down the stretch. That's the New York Jets, who were supposed to be a contender and finished 5-12. So, and Trey's laughing. I know Trey's laughing because and they deserve to be laughed at, believe me. But what I'm saying is stability in the organization is important. You know, and I think that if you're going to win a championship, I think patience is the call of the day. And you're just opening your championship window, and because things aren't going exactly the way you want them to after half a season, you're going to kick the guy out the door. Like, I can make the argument that Tibbs' team overachieved last season. We lost Julius Randle in January. And we weren't even sure if we were going to make the play-in. In February, we were talking about, is this team good enough to make the play-in? And then that team went on, and then they got the second seed. And did they get as far as we wanted to in the playoffs? No. Did things go? Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Yes. So I mean, look. if you don't like Tom Thibodeau, God bless you. That's a perfectly valid opinion. But he's been an excellent coach in his time here, and almost every team that he's coached has overachieved expectations, and they've almost all been better in the second half of the season than in the first. Even the 37-win team was more successful in the final month of the season than it was in the first part, which was a disaster. And he made a ton of mistakes that year. There's no doubt about it. But my question is, and if you want to me, at least give him the rest of the season, see how it plays out. And if it's the disaster that everybody says that it is, and I don't believe it's going to be, but if it is, that's the time that you make a coaching change. I don't believe doing it in season. First of all, who's your target that you want to get? That's so amazing. You know, they're not going to have a training camp. They're going to have to learn things on the fly. There's going to be an adjustment period. All of these things happen when you change your coach. And so I think patience is in order here. I think that Tom Thibodeau has his flaws. I'm not going to argue that. I am certainly concerned about the minutes distribution of the team right now. I'm not going to lie about that. But I don't think firing a coach when you're 27-15 is a good idea ever. Like I just think that's foolishness. And you know, you're welcome to disagree with me and tell me I'm stupid and tell me I'm wrong. I've been wrong before and I'll be wrong again. And there will come a point, there will come a day when you will get your wish and Tom Thibodeau will get fired. I promise you that day will come.
I agree.
Because all coaches get fired or they retire.
I agree.
So I think that you ride out the storm, see what this team looks like, go through the playoffs. Remember, it's year one of your championship window. Very few teams, a couple have, but very few teams win the first year that their championship core comes together. And if you look at it at the end of the season, then there are systemic problems that come straight from the coach, and you decide to part ways with them, so be it. I don't have a problem with that. But I think that you have to let this process play out a little bit and take a bigger picture perspective of what's going on in the season and how things are. Now, if we fall apart down the stretch and we go 10-30 and have another 37, God forbid, but if we do, then yeah, by all means, he's failed and he deserves to go. But you're going to have a tough time convincing me that after the start that we've had, even though it's been rocky, look, every coach is going to have their ups and downs. Every coach is going to have their hot streaks and their cold streaks. And you're not going to agree with every decision they make. I don't care who they are. But this offense, when it's on point, is elite. They've had multiple games with 30 assists this year. The people who are clamoring for that ball movement, well, here it is. He's giving it to you on a silver platter, and you still want him out the door. So, you know, I don't really understand what you want from the guy, but I think that I think that a lot of Knicks fans are being unreasonable.
I would agree with that. And I would say for any coach you bring in, that coach maybe extend their rotations and do some things that Thibodeau didn't do that you like, but I guarantee you they're going to do something you don't like and that you're going to complain about.
Yep.
That's just how it is with coaches. Yep. Coaches have their philosophy. There is no coach you're going to bring in that this fan base and any fan base is not going to complain about. They're complaining about Missoula right now in Boston, and they won a championship. As per Geoff, I didn't hear that. As per Geoff, they're complaining about Missoula in Boston, and they won a championship. I was reading this. This was last season. I was on Reddit, and I was reading what fans were saying about Pop, and I was reading what fans were saying about Spoelstra, and you would have thought they were talking about Tom Thibodeau. So I'm not going to get caught up in the fans because the fans are always going to get on the coach. They're going to, same thing with Kerr. You go to the Golden State Reddit, they killing Steve Kerr. So that's just what fans do. Fans get on coaches. They find something to complain about. You bring in a new coach. He's going to do something different than Tibbs that you're going to like, and you're going to find something about that coach to complain about. Now, are there things that Thibodeau does that I don't understand? Absolutely. There are things he does that I would do differently? Absolutely. We up 25,000 points. Take the starters, out the game. Grow your bench. If a unit is in there and they're smoking, let them stay in. But I'm not gonna fire a coach because I disagree with those things when the big picture is the Knicks have been much better with Thibodeau. Allow him to fail. If you feel like he's not going to get you to a championship, he'll have that opportunity to show you, right? This is the beginning of a championship window. Let's lose a playoff series first. I think as Knicks fans, we've gotten so spoiled for getting these 17-game seasons. You want to fire a coach before he underperforms. Like, what kind of crap is that? Let the coach underperform first. Then you fire him. You don't fire him because you won 4 out of 5 and you still, third place in the Eastern Conference and 5th or 6th in the entire league. Well, we're gonna fire him because the team is not firing on all cylinders 42 games into their championship window. Like, that just does not make sense. This conversation just does not make sense. Now, the conversation about what we like, what we don't like, what we would like to see done different, I think that's a legitimate conversation. Firing a coach, 27-15, top 10 team in the entire, because you feel the defense should be here or you feel the offense should be, to me, I don't understand the conversation, period. Let him fail, and when he fails, fire him. But don't, I don't think he can take us there, so we're going to fire him right now. Like, to me, that just doesn't make sense.
Ask Milwaukee if that worked out for them last year. When they were 30 and, I forget what, it was 30 and 15 or something, and they let Adrian Griffin go. Like, for what? And they ended up underachieving. So, don't want to be there. You don't want to be that franchise that does that. When when the win-loss column, you're right there. You're top 4. You don't want to do that.
Right. And I said it. Thibodeau was on the clock. Once you get a championship contending team, you're on the clock. Before that, he didn't have that team. In my opinion, he wasn't on the clock. Once you get that team, and again, this team still is going to go through different iterations too. Now you're on the clock. You might get a year or two. You don't perform, the team doesn't perform, you're out. That's just how it works. But you got to get to that point, though. You can't just, I want to fire him because he's not playing the bench. He need to go because he ain't playing the bench. He need to go because I think he should be doing this and his philosophy is different from mine, so I think he needs to go. Like, to me, that just doesn't make sense. He's entitled to his philosophy, and if his philosophy doesn't work, he will be out. That's just part of coaching.
Yeah. That's the question. Is his philosophy good enough to win in today's NBA? I think that's really the question.
I think the offense is. I think that was the best thing the Knicks did, because that offense last year, I don't care what the fake offensive rating was, the Knicks were generating points through second chance opportunities and things like that. In my opinion, I don't think that's something that would have held up on a championship run. I think what the Knicks are doing now, a pick your poison offense, in my opinion, this is a championship offense. Now, I'm not saying we're theoretically it is. I'm not saying we're optimal. I'm not saying we're there yet, but I mean, this is an offense
it's a work
that
in
can
progress.
win you a championship, a pick your poison top offense. Now, the defense has to come along, whether it's with this team or you bring in others. The defense has to change. Now you're not winning a championship with a number 1 offense and a number 20 defense. I mean, that the chances of that happening is pretty low, right? So they got work to do on the defensive end. But this is a champion. This idea of an offense is a championship type offense. They just have to learn how to work it. And the team has to grow. They have to grow. And, they're 40 games into their relatively long championship window, or 42 games into it. Where was Boston 42 games into their championship window? You know what I mean? Like, allow the team to simmer and grow into themselves and go through adversity and allow the front office to see the team and make roster changes. That's what happens with teams. We got to take the long range view. That the chances of the Knicks winning the championship the first year that you put together this team is unrealistic. Is it possible? Yes. But is it realistic? In my opinion, no. It's not. Anything else on Thibodeau? Then we'll move to the front office, and then that's the end of the show.
He's one of the top 5 coaches in Knicks history. Just you are what your record says you are. Look it up. That's all I'll say about it.
If they get rid of him, I'm not going to shed a tear.
Okay.
I don't like to. I'm not a whatever. You guys made a good case. I just
well, I didn't make a case to change your mind. You're entitled to your opinion. Every Knick fan is entitled to their opinion. Be careful for what you ask for. There's no guarantee that the next coach is gonna be better.
Right. Like I said, I don't understand why fans want him fired either. But if they do, if he gets fired, I'm not gonna lose sleep over that.
Well, Keith, how many championships do you think we should have won with the roster he's had?
That has nothing to do with anything.
Well,
here's my thing. Here's my reasoning with coaches. The coach should never be a reason why you lose a game. And I feel Thibodeau has been a reason why we lost games. That's my thing.
Okay. How many has he lost compared to how many the team has won? It's probably, like, if that's the case, no, you're right. I've coached before. In hindsight, I've made decisions that I felt like, that might have cost us the game, right? But that's like 2% of the games compared to 98% of the games where your preparation, getting the team ready, your rotations, your calls during the game help win the game. It can't be like, oh, you lost us 2 games, but all of the other games that you helped us win doesn't matter. Coaches are human. They make mistakes.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying for me, for me, a coach should never be a reason why you lose.
Because have you ever coached?
No, I've never coached.
No, I'm just saying what you're saying is very unrealistic.
I agree. Okay,
should never make a decision that caused the team a game. They're human. It happens.
It's unrealistic, but that's my thing. That's me.
All right. Okay. All right.
I'm sorry. That's just me. Yes, I am entitled to it.
Why you feel that way though, Ajay? Why you feel that way? I'm just curious.
Because why do I feel that the coach should never be? Because the coach is the coach is there to manage the game, to steer the team in the right direction. Okay. Mm-hmm. The players go out, they play. The players go out, they win, and the players go out, they play. They go out, they lose the game. Okay, that's always the case. And the coach sometimes get blamed when it's not really the coach. Mm-hmm. Or it's actually most of the time the coach get blamed. It's really not the coach. It's the players who don't do, what they're supposed to do, what the coach is. Right. But to me, the coach, I feel that the coach should never. The coach he's like the pilot guiding this thing. He should never be the reason why it goes off course. Because he has a staff of guys with him that are directing this team, that are putting this team, giving this team the best chance to win every night. It can never be all these guys he has with him, all his supporting staff should never be a reason why this team, any team, lose the game.
So coaches can't make mistakes that cost you the game, Ajay? That doesn't make any sense. Like you're asking them to be perfect and you're holding them to a standard that's completely unreasonable.
It's unreasonable to you, Geoff. I'm just saying that's my thing.
Ajay.
Okay, but that's my thing, though.
You're entitled to it.
That's it. That's my thing. Yeah, I'm not saying it's reasonable or it's not reasonable. I'm just saying that's my thing. That's my pet peeves. I hate when a coach manage the game wrong in a wrong way that causes the team. That's in any
It's
sport.
not even managing the game in the wrong way. You can make a decision that you think is basketball and coaching. If you've ever bench coached, it's dynamic. It's not formulaic. Like, oh, this is the plan that we have going in, and this is what we're going to do. You can have a perfect game plan. It means nothing. In that moment, you have to make decisions, and sometimes you make a decision based on the information you have, and it doesn't work out. So to the outside, oh, the coach cost us the game because they made that decision. But from the coach's perspective, that was the right decision. It just didn't work out. And we lost the game. Doesn't mean it was a wrong decision. It just didn't work.
Some of those games, well, at least some of those games, I can see that was the right decision that didn't work out.
But just because you didn't see it, so that means he lost the game? Like, what's your criteria? How do you know he lost us the game? Like, how do you know from the outside that we lost the game because of a decision he made? Like, what's your criteria? What are you basing that on?
I'll give you an example. All right. Last year when we played Dallas, right? We played Dallas and we were up. All we needed to do was grab an offensive rebound, right? Who does Thibodeau have on the floor? Deuce. What's the other rookie that plays for Dallas, right? Grimes. He had a bunch of small guys on the court. I'm sorry. You need to one rebound. You grab the rebound, you win the game. Deuce had no business being on that court. That's a coach decision that lost us the game. That's one example.
Okay.
That happens a lot. Believe it or not, that happens a lot.
Yeah, but listen, accidents happen a lot. Anything happens a lot. I'm just saying that bothers me.
Okay. But you know what? You could have had a big person in the game and the same thing could have happened.
You could have. And if you had a big person, the same thing happened. Like you said, that's one case where he did the right call and it didn't work out. Okay. But Deuce should have never been on that court. Yeah. I'm trying to grab that.
I think we're talking more like analytics though, too. Like, I think everything you said kind of goes into the category of going against the analytics. And I think that's where coaches can lose games, is when they go against the analytics or they go against what works at the time. That happens quite a lot, believe it or not. I mean, even some of the great ones that's out there, that because they're too smart, because they got this happens quite a bit,
Right.
So,
but you know what, Trey? Listen, sometimes coaches go against analytics, and it makes sense because of the matchup.
Or the feel for the game.
The feel for the game.
Sure.
Yeah. Because it doesn't work all the time. So that I'm okay with that. But there are certain things that are clearly, and it's not my opinion. It's like,
whoa, AJ. No.
Or
if the analytics says it, if the analytics says it, that basically says this is your best shot at winning the game. But you're saying that it's okay to go for the feel of the game sometimes, but in this particular case, it's not okay to go with the feel of the game. You got to go with the analytics.
What did I say? When did I say that? When did
Just
I say
now? You said it was okay sometimes to go with the feel of the game over the analytics.
But when did I mean, where's the confusion here? Like, I'm saying I don't like certain things Thibodeau did because it didn't make sense. It's like you playing, you need a 3-pointer and you put Mitchell Robinson on. Okay, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense. Not. But what I'm trying to say, I hear what you're saying.
Because you need him in there to set a pick, so you take out. It's just certain things.
You're entitled to your opinion. This is what I will say from a coaching perspective. Looking from the outside, you will never have all of the information that goes into a decision to keep somebody on the floor or to take somebody off the floor. So what I do respectfully is I say, I don't understand it. I don't agree with it. But I will never say the coach was wrong because I don't have all of the facts that went into a decision looking from the outside. And I've been in that position after the game. My friends who were at the game, why did you put so-and-so in? Why did you make this decision? Why did you do that? And then when I explained it to him, oh, I understand. You're not going to ever have what goes into a decision sitting from the bench. So to say it was wrong and that was the reason we lost the game, that's your opinion. I get it. I respect it. But as outsiders, you will never know what goes into, you will never have all of the pieces that go into a decision. And bench coaching, making decisions, split decisions in the moment, who to put in, who to take out, what do we need? If we do it this way, it's going to help us here, but it might hurt us over here. If we do this, it'll help us here. You know what? Let's go with this one. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. You're just making the best decision you can at the time based on the information you have. And sometimes it is just a feeling. You know what? I'm going to put so-and-so in right here and just see. So the only thing I'm trying to do is give context to. It's easy to be an armchair coach. It's easy to be on the outside saying what should happen, what shouldn't happen. You should do this. You should do. Only thing I'm saying is just soften it up a little bit. I don't understand that. I wouldn't have done that. I would have done this. From where I sit, I don't understand what he's doing. But and I'm not just talking about, I'm not talking to you, Ajay, at this point. I'm just talking about the entire fan base. To sit here and just act like we know. I'm not saying we can't criticize the coach. That's not what I'm saying. But the how fiercely we hold to what should have been done as if we got inside information. We don't. So just you don't like it, you don't like it, you don't like him, you don't like him, you don't understand it, you don't like. To me, all of that is fair game. But to say he should have done this when you looking from TV and this guy sitting here with all of the stats, knowing the team, whatever, I just think that's a bit too much, in my opinion.
But Ajay, do you think a coach costing a team a game is a fireable offense in general?
It could happen, but if it's something that happens all the time, yes. If it's something that happens too often, yes. Mm-hmm. And this is why I'm saying, like, I don't think Tibbs should be fired. Like that's, and right. I said, like, I don't think he should be fired. That's not. Yeah. To me, that just doesn't make sense to me. That at this point, they even thinking of, people are even saying that. But I'm just saying he's just not my favorite. That's
okay. All right. And keep in mind, Spoelstra this season cost Miami a game. I guess he should be out too.
I just said, I don't think if you do that one time, you should be out clean. I just said the exact opposite of what you're saying. But so he cost Miami a game. The guys, and Spoelstra is not, you can't compare that to Tibbs because Spoelstra has, how many championships he brought to Miami?
Wait, hold up.
And how many championships?
Wait, no, it doesn't matter. So what you're saying that
it does matter.
Well, if he had that many championships, then he should not be making those types of mistakes then. If you're that caliber of championship coach, then you should not be making those mistakes, if I'm following your logic.
No, everybody makes mistakes, but you can't compare Tibbs in the Knicks to Spoelstra in Miami.
What I'm trying to say
Spoelstra's got rings that he bought to the city.
And you know what?
He has a little more leeway.
To make a boneheaded mistake like that. I mean, come on. My point is,
what boneheaded mistakes did he make? I don't know.
Before Spoelstra, everybody was a playing coach until they actually won a championship. There was a time when Spoelstra was a playing coach before Dwayne Wade and Shaq came. And trust me, if Tom Thibodeau had Dwayne Wade and Shaq, he would be a championship coach as well. People overlook rosters matter. Rosters matter. You got Shaq and Dwayne Wade. Unless you're getting in the way, you're going to win a championship. So I don't want to hear about Spo. Yeah. I don't want to hear about Spo when I look at the rosters that he's had. Right? Malone was not a championship coach until he won a championship. Neither was Budenholzer. Right? So let's just stop it with Tibbs is not a champ. None of these guys were until they finally won one.
So when Tibbs finally win one, we could say the same thing about him.
I think that's fair. But the same things we're saying about Thibodeau, they're saying about Spoelstra and Pop and all of these other guys who had better teams than Thibodeau had. All right? So let's just relax. Give the guy a break. Let him coach the team. We acting like we lost in the first round of the playoffs 3 years in a row, and the Knicks are still keeping him around. It's not the case.
And DN, if he loses in the first round of the playoffs, then I think that's what you're saying is absolutely valid.
That's part of it.
That he's going to start to rise up, though. Yeah.
But let's get to that point first. We're 12 games over 500. We're 2 games back of the second seed in the Eastern Conference. We're having a good season, and people are acting like we've got the 76ers record. Pardon relish. I'm sorry, I'm not into this your squad, but I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of teams that are worse off than us right now. Do we have our problems? Absolutely. Are things imperfect? For sure. You know, and maybe Thibodeau is our Mark Jackson, right? Maybe Mark Jackson is our Steve Kerr. Who knows, right? I don't know how it's gonna play out, but I think that my point is that Thibodeau should get at least one run in the postseason with this brand new roster, considering how he's overperformed in every season except for one that he's been our head coach. I think he at least deserves that. And you are what your record says you are. And if we collapse in the first round, that says something about his record. But if he doesn't, then we're on the right path. And oh, by the way, Jalen Brunson, our star player, loves playing for Tom Thibodeau. So you want to keep your star player happy, then you probably want to keep that head guy who's there, who is the reason he's in New York in the first place, in all likelihood.
Yeah. I'll say this. In the history of sports, most championship teams have sacrificed a previous coach. They sacrificed the previous star player, for the betterment of winning a championship. There's a lot of examples of it out there. There's a lot more recent examples of it. NBA, NFL, baseball, whatever. It's happened, and I don't wish that on Tom Thibodeau. I'm just saying that, like you said, Jeff, if we get bounced in the first round again, that seat's gonna get hot, and if we underperform again the following year, then a change may be imminent.
Right.
In order to get the goal.
I think that's reasonable. Like we've said, the Thibodeau may not be here to see it out. I don't think any of us are saying that Thibodeau should stay here forever.
Yeah, but
you have to perform.
I think right now you guys are siding him harsher on Tom Thibodeau than I am. Even if we get bounced in the playoffs the first round, I still don't think he should be fired. I think you got to give the coach a couple of seasons. This is a brand new team. I'm reasonable when it comes to that. So if we get bounced in the first round of the playoff this season, to me that's not a reason to get rid of him, because you give him a brand new team that you got to give him time. You got to remember all those teams. So you guys are sounding harsher like right now, but that's not what I'm saying at all.
I would still call it an underachievement. I wouldn't fire him, but I would still call it an underachievement.
I think it depends on who we play and what we do with this damn bench.
Thank you, because the opposition is different. The other team, listen, who did any one of y'all see this Cleveland before the beginning of the season? Did any one of us? We're focused on Boston, right? So listen, it's a different team, different season. Everything's different. So you don't expect, if we don't go further than we went last season, I don't think it's necessarily a failure, because everything's different. We have a different team who's gelling, who's trying to build chemistry together. So underrated chemistry in a team. And then Boston, Cleveland, all those teams, there's a lot of moving parts. So you can't compare last season to this season.
And to add to what you just said, Ajay, going through the fire, going through disappointment and adversity, and coming back and working your way through it makes a team better. And you don't get a chance to see that if you lose in the first round and that's it. Now we're starting over. Yeah. That championship teams are built through adversity and fire. They are. You have to give the team the opportunity to go through that summer, reassess themselves, look themselves in the eye, and come back. That happened with Milwaukee. I said this on the other show. Milwaukee had the best record in the league, lost in the second round to Miami. Did they break that team up?
First round to Miami.
Was it the first round? Okay, lost in the first round to Miami. Did they break that team up? No. They licked their wounds. They came back the next year and won a championship. And you've seen it throughout NBA history. Teams falling short and coming back the next year and making it happen. And you got to afford this team an opportunity if they were to lose in the first round. I don't think that's going to happen, though.
I don't disagree with that.
The context matters. You reassess that at the end of the season. I'm just saying that, this team hasn't even gelled. Probably they haven't even had half a season together, and we're already ready to, act as the executioner on the coach. And I just don't think that's wise, given what he's done in the past. And he's won 2 playoff series for us, which is more playoff series than the Knicks have won this century without him. So, he's definitely improved the caliber of play around Madison Square Garden. There's no question of that. Now, he may not be the guy to take us to the promised land. I don't know, but nobody else does either. Nobody knew about Malone until he finally won it. As Queen said, nobody knew about Budenholzer until he finally won it. And so, Doc Rivers, who's had some nightmares as a coach, has a championship under his belt. So, you have to be lucky to win a championship. And I don't think you can act like the championship is the rule. One team gets to win it every year, and that team has to get rather fortunate to do it. And I'm not saying that Tibbs has to coach the team forever. That DN, I'm saying you reevaluate it after a decent amount of games when you've had a playoff series. You don't do it in the middle of a season when you're 12 games over 500. How does that make sense?
Yeah. Listen, this is the Knicks fans. The organization, that's not even I don't think that's going through their head at all. This is all for the Knicks fans. And the thing about it is, if you could coach or you can't. Atkinson got fired. Now he in a team with the best with the best record. BJ Bickerstaff fired by Cleveland. Now he's with Detroit. Detroit is having their best season. Bickerstaff just learned how to coach now. This wasn't the same Bickerstaff that was in Cleveland. You know what I mean? A lot of things have to break right for a coach also to have a good season or a good tenure with a club. And I'm sure Atkinson, I'm sure things, being with Golden State, he's learned some things to kind of, add to it and grow as a coach. But again, you don't just stop learning how to coach. The situation matters, Anyway, real quick about the front office. What do we want to see them do, if anything, going forward before we get out of here? Geoff?
I don't think we can do very much. Our hands are pretty well tied. What I could see them doing is possibly moving Mitch for a player who's more available. Plus, because Mitch is not somebody they drafted. And so I think that they might do that to go with their own guys, or you might see a smaller move where Precious and Sims, for instance, get aggregated and moved somewhere for a center or possibly a wing, or a scorer off the bench, maybe even. I don't know. I think a lot of those decisions are going to wait until this summer I think that the team is going to take a wait and see approach. If they're not going to be asleep at the wheel, they'll make phone calls. And if there's a way to improve the team moving forward, I think that they'll do that. But I just don't see a lot of options out there that I'm just like, yes, we have to go out and get this guy, where it's actually viable that we could go out and get that guy with the assets that we have available right now. So I would love to see us clean up the glut at the 5 spot. I think we have far too many centers who can't play productive minutes on this squad right now. And I'd like to consolidate that into maybe 2 players or 3 players, all who can give you good minutes. But that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I would monitor that Pelicans situation very, very closely, because that's a team that looks like they're trying to break up some of that core of Trey Murphy, Herbert Jones. Don't know what the deal with Brandon Ingram's going to be, but they're not going anywhere, clearly. And if I could get my hands on a Herbert Jones, I would pull the trigger. I need some front court players on my bench, so I would monitor that situation pretty carefully.
So,
Go
can I go? All right.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
and I'm gonna agree with Geoff in saying that I don't think we can make any moves. And with that, I'm gonna ask Trey, you want Herbert Jones, but what are you offering for him? Because us wanting Herbert Jones is like, okay, what are we giving the Pelicans? What do you have to give the Pelicans? What do you think we can offer the Pelicans to get a Herbert Jones up in here?
Yeah, and I see JJ in the chat said Jones is out for the year. I don't think I knew
Oh,
that.
really?
But
Well,
yeah.
maybe we can get him for next. Maybe we can get him now for next year.
Yeah, that'd be something. But the
I
answer
didn't know he
AJ's
was out. That must have
Yeah.
just happened.
Yeah, I didn't know either. I thought maybe that whole roster's been missing games. Like, I mean, at one point, like 4/5 of they starting 5 have been out. So
when we played them, like most of I think one starter was there. Everybody else
right. So but to answer AJ's question, Jericho Sims, I mean, we could start right there. Jericho Sims.
And that's the end of the conversation. If I'm New Orleans,
They're hanging up that phone quicker than you can say Jackie Robinson.
Sure.
Sims, click.
Sure. I mean, I probably wouldn't say that name first. I'd probably say some other names like a Shamit, or as much as I don't want to get rid of either Payne or Shamit, if you're gonna balance the bench out in terms of front court versus backcourt players, you may have to throw one of those backcourt players into that deal.
they're not good. Let me say something that's very unpopular.
Yeah.
If you want a needle mover, you're gonna have to put Deuce in that trade. If I'm another team, and Deuce is playing well. When I say this, I'm not saying this because Deuce is a throwaway. I'm not saying this because Deuce is not good for us.
He's got value.
He is good for us. But in my opinion, he has the best value on the team, in my opinion, more than Precious Achiuwa and more than Mitchell Robinson. If you want to do something around the edges, you could keep Deuce. You can keep Deuce. You want to do something big on the bench? I don't see how a team is gonna say, yeah, keep Deuce. Give me Mitchell Robinson, who's had 2 ankle surgeries, and a Shamit, who's what do you call it? Bouncing around from
minimum vet min player.
A vet minimum player,
a journeyman.
And you can have Herb Jones. It's not happening. It's not happening.
That's 100% right. And the other thing is that it can't be Deuce by himself,
and
because he's such a value. so
Correct.
little, you're going
Yep.
to have to pair him with somebody, whether that somebody be Precious,
You'd have to
or
throw in
multiple smaller contracts, or
Right.
Mitch
Yeah.
to bring in whomever you want. So that's a great point, Queen.
That's
And,
facts.
and keep
Precious
in
would be a
mind,
throw in.
Deuce would be headlining the trade.
Yes,
It's just
absolutely.
that-
Of
It's
course.
just that his money is not enough. So, all right, Precious or Mitch Sims, a second round pick, and I don't want to get rid of Deuce. I'm just saying I think as Knick fans, we're like, oh, we need this for the bench, but we don't want to give up this. Take our scraps and give us a scoring 3 that's 6'8" and can defend. Like, it's not happening.
And can I just say one thing right quick? Those who are on the Valanciunas train, that dude plays negative defense. There are pieces of wood that play better defense than Jonas Valanciunas. I know his scoring stats are nice, but he is like second percentile in the NBA defensively. You will hate this guy if he wears a Knick uniform. I promise you. As much as he does on offense, do you remember Freedom Cantor? Think of him without the rebounding, and that's Jonas Valanciunas.
I don't want
bring him
Valanciunas either. No.
Yeah.
Look at Sim. He said, "Please stay away from Valanciunas."
Yeah, shout out to the homie Sim.
Yeah, and Sim lives in the Washington
Salute
area,
Sim.
so he sees him a lot, and probably more than we do. Yeah, I don't want Valanciunas.
What's that center in Chicago?
Vucevic.
Vucevic. He's just as bad on defense. He's horrible.
Yeah, he is. But
Oh my God.
if I had to
These
choose,
centers with
maybe
last names that
choose.
start with V can't play no D.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you made me choose, I would definitely go with
Yeah, them guys.
the Chicago center. What's his name?
Vucevic.
Vucevic.
I would go with Vucevic if I had to choose.
Yeah, them guys, like even a guy like Nurkic,
Nah.
that guy plays no defense whatsoever.
Nah. Nick Richards, who went to Phoenix, that I would have been okay with that, even though he's not an offensive minded center, but he got a little hook shot or whatever, but he's not, he's more a rim runner, but that's off the table. That's off the table now. So I'm not sure what the Knicks are going to do. And if they don't do anything, I still feel it's up to Tom Thibodeau to grow the bench.
A Walker Kessler, Colin Sexton for Mitch and Deuce. If it works financially, I don't know if it does. Something like that might be interesting to shake things up. It gives you a scorer off the bench and your big man. But I don't see Utah doing that. I think that's way.
I don't want to deal with Danny Boy over there.
I don't either. But he dealt with Brooklyn and he dealt with Toronto, so you can't rule anything out.
Right. Right.
That's all I'm saying. But I don't think Utah does that deal anyway. I'm just saying if something like that was on the table, that I think you'd have to take a look at it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Anything else up for the front office?
No, I'm good.
Let's wait and see what they do, if they do anything by the trading deadline.
Yeah, I think what I do trust that they'll make a smart decision. I do think they're going to do something though, but I just think it's going to be around the edges. The thing about around the edges, if Thibodeau doesn't trust the guy, like, what are you doing? Like,
exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else? Any last? Shout out to the chat, by the way.
Chat is
Them
hot,
stopping
man.
by.
Hot.
Appreciate you guys.
Pete Turner.
That is popping.
Yeah,
That's my
Yeah,
dude,
but make sure you hit the like button though.
yes, definitely.
For sure.
Definitely hit the check what the likes are, Ajay. DN, I appreciate you on DSNYK. Knicks 100 at GN, always rocking with us. JJ rocking with us. Old head.
Only 63 likes, man. Come on, man. Y'all could do better than that.
Yeah, Sherwin, Wiz was in the building, as well.
DN, Keith
Wonder
Turner.
Woman was in the building. Not Ajay. A Train was in earlier. Space Ghost.
David G.
I'm not gonna get to everybody, but I appreciate you guys rocking with us. It's a real calm show. So we got to tip it off. And then it turned up. A notch.
Tibbs always does that to it. Chad, after when we log off the show, Queen and myself, we're gonna spend another hour arguing about that. Just so y'all know.
Hey, salute to Trey. What you got going on, brother?
Well, yeah, I just my earlier show, I had a Buffalo Bills fan come on the show earlier today because we got a big divisional matchup this weekend. So this one is for it's to get to the next round, to the championship game. So had that going on. We got some cool stuff going on the podcast. Make sure y'all Barbershop Sports Talk podcast. That's the podcast I host, me and my homie Maestro Styles. We release an episode once a week, and you can follow us on Twitter. My hashtag is right there at Barbershop SPOR2. We're also on Instagram, on Facebook, and on YouTube as well, and on Twitch. So make sure y'all follow us over there.
Yeah, nice. Good work. Geoff?
Salute. Great job, chat. Hey, it's all in love. We can disagree, but that doesn't mean we don't love you. We love you all the same. The conversation and the dispute is what makes it a great show. So y'all keep throwing those tomatoes at us.
Keith Turner was in there hot when it came to Tim.
One time I said,
I'm gonna have to mute this. I can't be listening to this. I have to put y'all on mute. Appreciate you always.
That's what it keeps it going, man. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, definitely. Ajay, any last words?
Queen, we didn't take calls. We forgot. So next week we got to take calls. We keep saying this at the beginning of the show, but then
I blame Coach Tibbs.
That's right.
We get the phone minutes. Tibbs took the phone minutes.
For sure.
But next week definitely we'll do that.
Yeah. I gotta. Y'all know my condition. Come on, somebody in the chat got to be like, you taking calls, Or maybe I'll just put the number. The thing about it, if you put the number up right at the beginning, then the calls just start.
They start coming in hot.
Yeah, they start coming in. Trey, appreciate you hopping on. Always a pleasure. Definitely. That's a forever link. So anytime you want to hop on, you're welcome.
Absolutely.
Geoff, I appreciate you. Always, from the first phone call to now, I appreciate you raising the level of the show. And Ajay, I appreciate you as well with your takes and just keeping it real and being honest, about it. And sometimes that's not always easy when you're on a panel where people feel different, than you. So I appreciate you.
Yep.
And go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm here for it.
Right.
I can't. We can't all go in the same direction. Then it becomes boring. We all saying the same thing.
Correct. Correct. And Jerrell too. Shout out to him.
Yeah. Shout out to the homie. Yep.
Yeah. When you said that we can't always go in the same direction, I thought about Staffer, who I have not.
Oh my God. Yes.
Heard from. And I don't know how long. If anybody has heard anything from Staffer Don, please let me know. Texting and leaving voice messages and nothing. So I hope everything is,
thoughts and prayers with Staffer and his approach.
Okay, I definitely miss him, man. All right. Until next time, family. Peace.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you
That's
shine. DopeSoul.
Where you at? Where you at?
DopeSoul.
Where you at? Where you at?
DopeSoul.
What?
DopeSoul.
What?
Your soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
We ain't say.